North Carolina's Outer Banks Island still at some risk this hour from Hurricane Ophelia. The storm center is forecast to move parallel to the Carolina coast, but stay offshore. Somewhat weaker, Ophelia still is packing heavy rains and strong winds. There's flooding, but less severe than some had originally feared. At last report, 80,000 homes and businesses have no power. We'll have live reports from the storm front and from our weather center. That's coming up ahead. Moving on to Hurricane Katrina. Just a short while ago, national weather officials confirmed what many already suspected. Katrina is the most destructive hurricane ever to strike the United States. That's what NOAA is saying. In New Orleans, the mayor says the historic French Quarter is high and dry and will reopen within the next 2 weeks. Ray Nagin says some 182,000 residents will be allowed to return to their homes and businesses, a first step toward recovering from Hurricane Katrina. President Bush makes his fourth trip to the battered Gulf Coast this hour, and tonight he talks to the nation about his plans to try to help the region recover and rebuild. Our White House correspondent Suzanne Malveaux is joining us now live from Jackson Square in New Orleans, where the president will be giving a speech, in about 5 hours or so from now?
That's right, Wolf. And his first stop, of course, is in Mississippi. We understand that Air Force One just touched down at the Gulfport Biloxi, Mississippi airport. He is being given a tour from local officials there to survey the damage and also the recovery, and then on to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where he'll do the same, and then make his way here to New Orleans, to the French Quarter, the heart of New Orleans, what is seen as ground zero of Hurricane Katrina. Now, the president, of course, has been preparing this speech, really considered to be a defining moment, a chance to lay out his vision. White House Press Secretary Scott McCullen giving us a general sense of what the president is going to say. He essentially is going to talk about a strategy to move forward. He is also going to say that he remains open to all ideas from local as well as state officials, and he will also acknowledge that there are lessons learned here. We have seen a strategy from this administration evolve in the last couple of weeks, even the last couple of days, after much of that criticism for the federal response being what many seen as very, very slow. The president just 2 days ago taking some responsibility for that. Expect to hear the same kind of language from the president tonight. Wolf?
Suzanne, any indication he's going to name a czar, in effect, a Colin Powell, a Rudy Giuliani, someone to take charge and oversee this relief operation?
Senior officials say that is not going to happen tonight. That is something that they are considering, but so far they're putting that on the back burner. What we are going to see, however, sorry, the little bird got in the way there, but what we are going to see are these an unprecedented amount of money, essentially, that the federal government is going to be allowing the states to use, local officials to use, as well as those who've been victim of the hurricane. You're going to talk about education initiatives, tax credits for businesses, housing opportunities, things like that. Wolf?
Suzanne Malveaux, thank you very much. Suzanne will be covering the story for us, and stay with CNN tonight for complete coverage of the president's address on hurricane recovery. I'll be right here in the Situation Room, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll bring you the president's speech live. We're getting some live pictures, speaking of live, coming in right now from New Orleans. Take a look at this. These are pictures just coming in to the Situation Room, flying over. We're going to continue to monitor these pictures throughout this hour, the next hour, and bring you anything dramatic. But the cleanup operation clearly continuing. The dirt, the mud, the sludge, if you will. What a mess remaining in New Orleans. You can see those cars stacked up one on another. They're going to try to remove those cars one by one by one. And a lot of cars were destroyed. The president will be landing in a clearly more hopeful New Orleans now that the mayor has announced plans to try to reopen parts of the city, and in his words, let it start to breathe again. Let's bring in Mary Snow. She's on the scene for us once again in New Orleans with more. Mary?
Well, Wolf, Mayor Ray Nagin said today that this is a good day for New Orleans, saying we are bringing New Orleans back, and this is the first step. He announced today that there will be about 182,000 residents who will be allowed back into the city over the next few weeks.
The city of New Orleans, starting on Monday, starting this weekend, will start to breathe again. We will have life. We will have commerce. We will have people getting back into their normal modes of operation and the normal rhythm of the city of New Orleans that is so unique.
Now, business owners will be allowed to come back in, selected business owners, that is, in selected areas over the weekend. And then on Monday, residents of certain areas will be allowed to start coming back in. The mayor also pointed out that the French Quarter is high and dry. However, there are concerns about the power there. He said he wants to keep people away for a bit until the power is restored because he's concerned about fires. And because it is such a historic district, he is saying that the French Quarter should reopen by September 26th. Now, Wolf, as you know, the original expectations were that New Orleans could be a ghost town for several months. So this is certainly much quicker than the earliest expectation. Also, the mayor said that the water from the city may be drained by early October. Wolf?
All right, Mary, thank you very much. Mary Snow in New Orleans. For us, let's check some other news about the disaster zone. The commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers today acknowledged mistakes in responding to the Katrina catastrophe. He says the government should have been more ready with sandbags and helicopters, so repairs on broken levees in New Orleans could have started sooner. The Katrina death toll, by the way, is now up to more than 700, 474 killed in Louisiana, 218 in Mississippi. New Red Cross figures, by the way, show more than a third of the homes in the state's most southern counties were destroyed by the storm. Mississippi's Attorney General responded today to reports insurance companies may be taking advantage of Katrina victims. He filed a lawsuit against 5 insurers in his state. Now to Hurricane Ophelia's assault on North Carolina. Our national correspondent Susan Candiotti is at Nags Head on the Outer Banks. Our meteorologist Bonnie Schneider is at the CNN Weather Center. Let's start with you, Susan. It looks like it's maybe calming down a little bit, is it?
It is right now. No bands. We're not feeling those at the moment. But I am hearing myself in my ear there. It just went away, so now we can talk a little more clearly. In any case, we're at the water's edge, and Wolf, we're just about a couple of hours away from high tide, so you can see how much closer the waves are approaching shore. I'm at the base of these sand dunes that run about 35 feet high, and you can see how well they protect these oceanfront homes. Most of them, as you look down the road there, did not board up for this storm, this Category 1 storm. Now, of course, structural damage does not normally happen during a Category 1 storm, and we are hearing some reports, however, of minor to moderate damage throughout the state, primarily on the south end of North Carolina in the Wilmington area, Camp Lejeune, that area, and some reports of flooding. However, the waters are said to be receding. As you look over, make your way over to the pier where we are here in Nags Head on the Outer Banks, it's been holding up pretty well. They weren't expecting it to suffer any damage, and so far it is not. And you can see possibly at the end of the pier, some people are out taking walks at this hour as well. You know, they're predicted, I don't think they're getting as much rain as they had talked about as well. So far, so good for Hurricane Ophelia. The problem is that it is going so slowly. One other thing we want to point out, state officials continue to say that they have at least 1,000 National Guardsmen, members of FEMA, as well as State Highway Patrol, standing at the ready to come in if need be. And we haven't heard this much publicity about that, certainly, in months. But in light of what happened with Hurricane Katrina, clearly they want to make sure the word gets out that they are ready to help if their help is necessary. Wolf?
All right, Susan, thank you very much. Let's check the latest forecast. Our meteorologist, Bonnie Schneider, standing by at the CNN Weather Center with more on that. What do they say? And specifically, eventually, explain to our viewers, Bonnie, what could happen in eastern Long Island, New England, Canada, for that matter, because this hurricane is not necessarily completely going away.
No, absolutely not, Wolf, and that's really a concern for us in the future. This storm has a history of wobbling back and forth, and even doing loops. So that's one of the reasons it's been so challenging to forecast. In fact, right now the storm is sitting offshore, the center of circulation, and is stationary right now. We are expecting movement to the north-northeast sometime later today or tonight, but the bulk of the precipitation is offshore, which is good news for the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. But I want to note there still is some rain coming down, and we could still see another couple inches of rain before the storm finally pulls away sometime tonight into tomorrow. But as we said, that's a slow mover, and right now the movement is stationary. It's not moving at all. In fact, if we show you what's going on, we have a hurricane warning that's in effect from Surf City up to the Virginia-North Carolina border. So we're watching that closely. We still have that warning in effect that continues for now. The track, though, takes the storm eventually out to the north and to the east. And your question about Long Island and the Cape in Massachusetts is a good one, because you can see this cone of uncertainty shows that the storm may indeed get close enough to the shoreline to bring some heavy rain and some wind and rough seas to the Cape, to the islands, and to eastern Long Island, even Rhode Island as well. So we'll be watching the track of Ophelia closely to see which way this does occur. Right now, we're forecasting this to be a weekend event, which may bring some rain to New England. Wolf?
All right, Bonnie, thank you very much. Our viewers, I'm sure, are anxious to know what's going to be happening with this hurricane. Let's get a little bit more on what's happening to Ophelia. We have an affiliate reporter, Craig Savali of WVEC's in Kill Devil Hills in North Carolina, where it looks, I guess it looks sort of windy. What's the latest there, Craig?
That's right, Wolf. We in fact just moved to the Nags Head area just a short time ago, and here in Nags Head, Hurricane Ophelia has been consistently strong throughout the day, strong enough to blow you around a little bit, strong enough to kind of move around debris like this piece of lumber that we found floating over in the ocean just a short time ago. But it hasn't been strong enough, as we've been hearing, in this part of the Outer Banks to actually cause some of those problems that we've seen in different parts of the state, the power outages, the flooding, and some of the major damage that we've seen just south of us right now. Now, just take a look out here. You can see the waves out here along the Outer Banks in Nags Head are still racing along here. They're violently crashing into the shore here. Much of the Outer Banks is protected by the large sand dunes here. The one that we're looking at right now just in front of us is about 20 to 30 feet high, so that's what's protecting us from those whipping waves right now. Now, in talking with a lot of the residents out here, especially a lot of the longtime residents out here, they are used to these kind of storms. They have weathered so many over the years. In fact, in back of me, you could see some of the folks out here watching what's been going on. That's what we've been seeing most of the day. Many of the residents that we've seen out here feel like they have actually really dodged this bullet in Ophelia, especially here in the Nags Head area. But obviously, as you can tell, Wolf, the winds have not stopped whipping, the waves have not stopped crashing, and this storm is far from over, and residents out here will not be happy until it's back off to sea. Wolf, back.
All right, Craig Savali of our affiliate WVEC. Thanks, Craig, very much. We're getting some new pictures in from the other hurricane, Hurricane Katrina. Check this out. These are pictures that we're getting in. These are bulldozers, in effect, that are trying to clean away some of the sludge there. This was underwater, and the mud, the dirt, the debris is clearly still very, very thick. You see those pipes over there. We're told that those pipes are trying to get some of the sludge or mud out of that area. It's sucking that process over there. We're going to watch these pictures unfold. Those workers in their boots, they're almost up to their knees in that sludge. This is a major operation, but clearly critical to trying to reopen New Orleans and get this city back on track. But this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration here in Washington now saying this is the most destructive hurricane to have ever hit the United States. We'll get back there in a moment, but Jack Cafferty is watching all of this with us, as he always does, and he's got another question this hour. Jack?
How you doing, Wolf? A couple of minutes ago, Suzanne Malveaux talking about that speech that President Bush will give to the nation later tonight from the French Quarter in New Orleans. In all likelihood, that speech is going to be a tough sell for the nation's chief executive. Hurricane Katrina is expected to cost as much as $300 billion and result in the permanent loss eventually of up to 400,000 jobs. There are already analysts saying that this emergency spending, combined with earlier budget decisions, will devastate government finances for years to come in this country. Others point out that companies with ties to the White House have been getting some of the first no-bid reconstruction contracts. So that part of the deal is business as usual in Washington. Here's the question this hour. What do you want to hear the president say tonight? You can email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com. We'll read some of the answers in about a half hour.
I think you should get ready for a ton of email. Good question, Jack. Thanks very much.
All right.
We'll check back with you. Coming up, the president and the road to recovery along the Gulf Coast. Two of our political reporters will preview what the president might say tonight, whether he'll tell a wary public what they want to hear. Also ahead, The Democrats trying to preempt the president's speech with their own take on the disaster and the relief. Is there any hope for bipartisanship here in Washington? And the public cross-examination of John Roberts is over with after some 3 days of heated discussion. Did the hearing shed any real light on what kind of Chief Justice he would be? We'll discuss that and more. You're in the Situation Room.
Documents start with people like you who have ideas to share. To bring your ideas to life, choose Sir Speedy. We understand the process of moving from ideas to documents. We have the expertise to enhance your vision and all the technology to make it happen. Whether your documents are electronic or printed, Sir Speedy's global digital network will help you create, manage, and distribute them more efficiently, wherever they need to go. Sir Speedy. We are documents.
Electronic four-wheel drive. Vehicle stability assist with traction control. And an available navigation system with off-road tracking. The Acura MDX. Its heart's in the right place, even if you're not.
People who get loans shouldn't be taken advantage of. That's why eLoan has consultants who don't make money based on the rate of the loan, offer you low rates, and treat you fairly. Those are just some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
CNN Tomorrow. Former President Bill Clinton for the Hour. His hurricane relief project with former President Bush and his new global initiative. Larry King. CNN Tomorrow 90.
In 2000, help-wanted advertising for newspapers was an $8 billion market. In 2004, it was just over $4 billion. So where'd the money go? The answer is that fewer new companies were hiring. Companies became more productive with existing employees, and many business owners started advertising their jobs online. This change eliminated almost $3 billion a year in recruiting costs. Is your company ready to start saving too? I'm David Batson.
Freezer's on the fritz, boss. All the ice is melting.
Hey, boss! 10 tons of tuna got caught up in customs.
Boss, we got cats.
Small business owners have enough challenges. High-speed internet shouldn't be one of them. As a broadband leader, Comcast delivers speeds up to 7 megs with advanced security features and 24/7 support. It's one thing you can count on.
IRS line 1.
Weather is the news. Trust CNN. It's essential.
Just hours after President Bush speaks to the nation tonight about Hurricane Katrina, the Senate Republican and Democratic leaders make their own trip to the Gulf Coast tomorrow to see rescue and recovery operations firsthand. 12 other members from both parties will travel with them, but that spirit of bipartisanship appears to have its limits. Let's check in with our congressional correspondent, Ed Henry, as we continue, Ed, to take a look at these live pictures coming in from overhead over New Orleans. You see this this vehicle simply stuck over there. I tell you, the more you see of these pictures, the more you realize how awful this whole area has been. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with this Senate leadership.
Well, just a little bit of bipartisanship, as you mentioned. The House and Senate today easily passing tax relief packages for Katrina victims. Also, Democrats and Republicans in the Louisiana delegation coming together to once again lay out an ambitious plan for billions and billions of dollars for education, jobs, health care to rebuild the region in advance of the president's speech. Also, a lot of money for coastal restoration to try to avoid another disaster. But you're right, that's about where the bipartisanship ends. In a prebuttal to the president's speech tonight, Senate Democratic leader Leader Harry Reid and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi stuck a finger in the collective eye of the president and congressional Republicans up here, questioning their priorities on how they're going to spend the money to rebuild the region. Also, Senator Reid coming out very hard and writing a strong letter to Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist saying he will not participate in this joint House-Senate investigation of what went wrong. Democrats see a political opportunity here, and they're playing hardball. Here's Senator Reid.
They're not fair. They're a whitewash. They're not fair. And so that's why Nancy and I and all of us believe we need an independent commission. And not only do I believe we need one, we're going to have one. It's just a question of time. And if the president wanted to really do something for the American people tonight, what he would do is say they're right.
Now, Senate Majority Leader Frist now blasting away at the Democratic leaders, saying that they're playing politics here with this hurricane relief, also saying that this investigation, in the words of his staff, should not be outsourced to an independent commission. Instead, Congress should take care of it. Basically, the bottom line is this joint investigation is stalled, but in the Senate, Senators Lieberman and Collins are moving forward with their own hearings. In the House, Republican Congressman Tom Davis also kicking off hearings today, but we're not seeing a coordinated effort, and that's why Republican leaders are frustrated. So that trip tomorrow between Reid and Frist is going to be quite interesting. They're at each other's throats right now, Wolf.
Well, at least they're going together, the leadership down there. I guess the small step, a tiny step, but at least it's a step showing a little bit of bipartisanship. Right. Ed, thank you very much. Ed Henry's our congressional correspondent. The president tonight in prime time. What does he need to say about the response to Katrina? CNN's Candy Crowley, John King, they're standing by. Will assess what the president needs to do. Plus, the grilling's over. Did the Chief Justice nominee John Roberts pass the test? We'll go live to Capitol Hill. Much more of our coverage here in the Situation Room right after this.
Home sweet home. Time for a fresh new look. I say start at the top with Excellence Cream from L'Oreal. Absolutely beautiful color that's hassle-free. So creamy rich it doesn't drip. Nothing protects better or guarantees my color like excellence. Beautiful, sensational, softer than silk, and nothing covers grays better than excellence. Assuming you have any. Thinking makeover? Start at the top with triple protection Excellence Cream from L'Oreal Paris. Because you're worth it.
Looking for a mortgage lender who really knows how to win your business? Right now, we're offering a $49 flat fee fixed rate second mortgage.
Get on the Ditech Home Equity Fast Track today.
Log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're the same brand, but this medication costs a lot less and is delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
The new 2006 trucks from Mitsubishi Fuso. So productive, so comfortable, so dependable that every 2006 Mitsubishi Fuso carries a 5-year, 175,000-mile powertrain warranty or a 5-year, 250,000-mile powertrain warranty. So, if you want the best medium-duty truck with the best warranty for your business, see your Mitsubishi Fuso dealer.
Sir, why are we meeting in the shower?
Well, ideas always hit me in my shower at home. And our first store opens next week, so any ideas?
FedEx Kinko's. For signs, banners, printing invitations, even shipping.
Wow, this shower thing really does work.
FedEx Kinko's. Make it, print it, pack it, ship it.
A lesson for parents about the power of your cable remote. Yes, you can surf the channels with it. But did you know? The cable remote can help control what your children watch. It's pretty easy. First hit Menu or Settings, then scroll through the on-screen options to set your password. Finally, block the programming by channel or rating. And talk to your children about why certain programs are not for them. Set your parental controls. It's easy. For more details on parental controls and tools, go to controlyourtv.org.
These are live pictures you're seeing. Marine One touching down in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The president making his first stop once again back in the area, his fourth time since Hurricane Katrina struck tonight. He addresses the nation 9 p.m. Eastern. Knowing many Americans are not necessarily satisfied with the job he's doing As a result, he's got his work cut out for him. New polls, in fact, out this week showing the president's approval rating ranging from a low of 40% to a high of 46%. When you average all those polls together, 42% of the American public giving the president a positive review. That's pretty low. We're joined now by our chief national correspondent, John King, our senior political correspondent, Candy Crowley. John, I'll start with you. You've been speaking to a lot of people in town. What does the president need to do tonight? All the networks, all the cable networks, they're all going to be taking him live. A lot of people are be watching.
Most of all, in a word, leadership. The president needs to convince the American people, and especially the people from the affected areas, at least those who have been displaced, who have a television wherever they might be staying, that he gets it. That the federal response was inadequate. The president said that himself. He took responsibility. Maybe the local response was inadequate. Well, the president has to say, we're turning that page. From here on out, you will get everything you need as quickly as possible. The federal government will come up with any money that is necessary. We will rebuild this area. And if you're mad, be mad. But from here on out, I'm in charge. I get it. The president does take a certain risk, Candy, if he lets down people, if the speech is not a home run tonight, if people emerge and say, you know what, I've heard all that before. I don't know what he needed that primetime speech for. That could hurt him.
It could, and the problem is that so much is on, because it's been so bad up to now, and by it I mean just the response from, you know, local, federal, and state, because it's been so bad up to, say, a week ago. So much is being put on this speech. He cannot turn the corner. He cannot turn the corner in a single speech. And yet, we get this billing of, well, this is where he's going to, now he can start to do it. It sounds like there's this sort of Marshall Plan thing coming up where they're just going to sink money into it. Nonetheless, any kind of immediate reaction, how long is it going to take them to rebuild? I mean, it's going to take them a very long time. They're not going to be able to do this in a single night.
He has to reassure the American public. Marine One now in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The president will be touring Mississippi once again. Pascagoula, the hometown of Trent Lott, the former Senate Majority Leader. He lost his own home in Pascagoula, like so many other people along that Gulf Coast. The format tonight, John, it's interesting. He's going to be looking into a camera and speaking. There's not going to be like a live audience out there that he's going to be addressing.
And that is not this president's best setting. His own aides would concede that point. When the president is speaking in a quiet setting, he will be in the disaster zone, which they hope will add atmospherics to it, but it is not the president's best setting. Contrast the days immediately after 9/11. His speeches at the Oval Office, his speech at the White House that first night was not terribly well received. You see the president waving there with Governor Barbour of Mississippi. When the president is in that sterile setting, if you will, he tends not to perform as well as when he's out with a live audience. Again, contrast the Oval Office speech on the night of September 11th with him climbing up on the rubble at the World Trade Center 3 days later on September 14th. That was his definitional moment out at the World Trade Center. So this is not the ideal setting for this president or any president, but he needs to give this speech.
You can't make up a bullhorn moment. You can't make it up. That's the problem here. The spontaneity is gone, let's face it.
They tried to do those moments in the first three trips. It didn't necessarily
It just
work.
isn't where it has a hollow ring to it. The problem is, yes, this is the president's, not his strong suit, the arena. The fact of the matter is, though, I've talked to so many Republicans that said he needs to talk to the American people, not with a bunch of people around him, not at a news conference. He's got to make that connection. Reagan, Challenger, FDR during the war, you know, that sort of speech. So he doesn't have much of a choice. I mean, people have been advising him for some time. There was that talk about, well, maybe he could give a speech to Congress. All of his advisors were going, no, bad idea. He needs to connect with people, remind them why they thought he was a leader to begin with.
Well, it's hard at a moment like this, a healing moment like this. She mentioned Reagan, Challenger. You know, after Oklahoma City, Bill Clinton. After 9/11, George W. Bush. But you had an enemy then. Somebody blew up the buildings in Oklahoma City. Somebody flew the planes into the World Trade Center at the Pentagon. This is Mother Nature, and it's the government's response that people are mad at. George W. Bush can't say we will get anybody. He just has to say we will get it right.
And his first stop, by the way, as we see his motorcade leave that little helipad in Pascagoula, Mississippi, the first stop, Candy, will be a Chevron refinery, which brings up this issue. Going into Hurricane Katrina, gas prices were high. The situation in Iraq looked awful by all accounts. There were so many other problems he was facing, and this merely exacerbated a lot of that, hence those low job approval numbers.
It did. In fact, those numbers are not that far off from where they were before Katrina. They are consistent. I mean, the 40s pretty low, but he had dipped below 50 in the polls before that, largely because of Iraq, some gas prices, but Iraq had just turned so sour before Katrina came along. So we're seeing the continuum here more than just he was at 58 and all of a sudden now he's down. This was just more on top of what they'd already seen.
We got to go, but one point you made, he's going to look in the camera. I assume he's going to read from a teleprompter.
Of course, the president will read a prepared address from a teleprompter. It won't go all that long. It's a tough challenge, but he's the president of the United States.
He can do what he wants. John King, thanks very much. Candy Crowley, thank you to you as well. Up next, the other man in the spotlight. The questioning ends, but did the Chief Justice nominee John Roberts give the Democrats the answers they were looking for? That story coming up next. Plus, what do you want to hear from the president tonight? Email us right now at CaffertyFile@CNN.com. Jack's standing by. He's anxious to read what you have to say. John King wants to email Jack Cafferty. This is a good time to do so. We'll be right back.
Can a child fulfill the promise of a father? At New York Life, the tradition of being an agent is passed from generation to generation. These promises we make to you to protect a family, to pay a policy when needed, are guaranteed not only by our values of financial strength, integrity, and humanity, but also by generations to come. Promises that last are why New York Life is the company you keep.
Introducing the new 2006 Envoy Denali. Behind this grille lies some of the most fuel-efficient technology available. Displacement on demand, saving fuel while still delivering the most standard horsepower of any midsize SUV. The new 2006 Envoy Denali by GMC.
Breakups are the best. When you don't want to see me anymore? That's cool. Let me get my guitar and my laptop. I'll write about it. I'll record it, mix it, make a CD. I won't be all depressed and home. I'll be in a home studio, which is good, because I don't want to go out and meet someone new. That'd blow the whole album.
Start something loud. Start anything you like with a world of software and devices that run on Windows.
Excuse me, what is that?
Well, that's ING. They're the financial services company that's all about fresh thinking. They're full of new ideas, so you're ready for whatever comes along.
I know about ING. What is that?
It's a guy with his own theme music.
Ask your financial professional about ING.
Every day, buildings everywhere are getting stronger, quieter, more attractive, and more energy efficient. What does it take to put everything in place? The right chemistry. Improving the things we all need is a goal to build on, and it's ours. Dow. Living improved daily.
CNN Tonight. The president speaks to the nation from Louisiana. Then, immediate reaction from state and local officials in Hurricane Katrina's disaster zone. And from Washington, Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, right after the president's speech.
This hour, the Chief Justice nominee John Roberts is a step closer to confirmation. His three-day public grilling by members of the Senate Judiciary Committee is now over. And while some Democrats remain skeptical, Republicans see a clear path ahead. Let's get the latest from our congressional correspondent, Joe Johns. Joe?
Well, Wolf, the testimony for John Roberts has wrapped up, and Republicans, frankly, are becoming increasingly confident. They're now talking about the vote margin on the Senate floor. They say they're hoping for an overwhelming vote. They say Roberts has proven himself in these hearings. Democrats, of course, continue to be reticent. They're not so sure. They think in some cases he's been evasive, hasn't answered all their questions. This is summed up, if you will, in an exchange that occurred earlier today between Senator Dianne Feinstein, the only woman on the committee, and Judge Roberts.
I would very much like if you would respond, particularly to the con side. The pro side speaks for itself. And many of us are struggling with exactly that, what kind of a justice would you be, John Roberts?
If you've looked at what I've done since I took the judicial oath, that should convince you that I'm not an ideologue. And you and I agree that that's not the sort of person we want on the Supreme Court.
Now, one area where Democrats thought he could have been vulnerable was in the issue of civil rights, affirmative action. He got a lot of questions on that from Senator Edward Kennedy of Massachusetts and John Lewis, the congressman from Georgia, also a big civil rights advocate, testified today. He was concerned about this nomination. Still, it's not expected to be enough. A lot of people are saying John Roberts certainly will be confirmed. The question is how many votes, how many Democrats will go along with Republicans to put him on the Supreme Court, Wolf. Still, all of that expected to come up for a vote before the committee sometime next week. Back to you.
Thanks very much. Joe Johns reporting for us on Capitol Hill. What should the president say tonight in his primetime address to the American people? We'll get some expert opinion in our strategy session. That's coming up. Also, don't forget we're tracking Hurricane Ophelia. We'll get an update on what is going on. You're in the Situation Room.
CNN Primetime tonight at 8. Paula Zahn begins our coverage of the president's address to the nation. At 9, Wolf Blitzer anchors CNN's live coverage of the speech. Then Larry King with reaction from around the country. Live coverage of the president's address beginning CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
Want to see what makes Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bars such a good choice? With whole grain oats, real fruit, and a sweet kiss of honey, it's only natural they've got the right kind of energy. Find yours in every bar. The choice is simple. Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bars. Real food, real good.
You see a patient coping with arthritis. At Franklin Templeton, we saw a chance to invest in what became the world's largest biotech company. Earning healthy returns by spotting opportunities ahead of the pack requires a unique perspective, one that's made us a leading equity fund manager. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Consider investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses carefully. For this and other information, get a prospectus from your advisor. Read it carefully before investing.
We're investing over $1 billion in North America. It began with a new design and research center and test track in California, a new engineering facility in Michigan, and now a state-of-the-art assembly plant in Alabama, creating thousands of new jobs across the country. The result will be a Hyundai like you've never seen before.
Credit card bills, late payments, medical bills. Financial stress can happen to anyone. If you're a homeowner and you need cash, call or log on to ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you to consolidate debts and lower your payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Put us to the test and find out why so many other lenders are saying, lost another loan to Ditech. Log on or call 1-800-80-DITECH.
As we've been reporting, President Bush addresses the nation tonight about Hurricane Katrina, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be bringing you live coverage of his speech from here in the Situation Room. That also is part of our strategy session today. Joining us now, our guest, Democratic strategist Donna Brazile, Republican strategist Babe Buchanan, both CNN contributors. Before we get to that, Donna, you just came back. You're a Louisiana native. How's your family doing? What did you see? Give our viewers a little update.
Well, thank you, Wolf. My family's doing quite well. My dad is, they're all in homes. No one's sleeping on the floor. They're out of shelters, and that's really good news. I have to tell you this because it took a long time to convince my dad to open up a checking account. Today he did so. He also has a cell phone for the first time. He's 75 years of age. So he's adjusting to this very slowly, but they're doing well, and I know they're doing well because he cooked red beans and rice for the entire family last night.
That's good to know. He's better late than never with the cell phone and the checking account and all that
He's
stuff.
75. I guess he can live with it.
All right,
Thank
good.
you.
I'm not sure if that makes life better, though, you all.
Yeah, well, it's, you can't go back. And once you get the cell phone, you can't go
But
back.
there's a lot of damage in the area. I went to my hometown, and the water reached up here.
Still still.
No, the water's down, but mildew, mold, and Katrina wasn't just an ordinary storm. She was a monster storm. Trees, big, heavy elm trees, oak trees on the grounds, and the salt water that swept up basically destroyed all of the vegetation.
Bay, what does the president need to do tonight?
He's got to show that he's in charge, that he understands what the problem is, he knows it, and lay out in big term, a vision type of thing, that this is what has to be done for us to move forward and get this city back up and running. I think what's important is the American people feel confident that he is in charge, and he knows what he's doing and where he's going.
He hasn't done that yet. Is that what you're saying?
I think the first couple of days, no, and he was real set back, as were all of us, in the sense that we realized nobody was in charge those first 4 or 5 days. And now he has done. It started to come back, but I think he needs to keep talking to the American people because a lot has to be done. He's asking the Congress $200 billion, and I suspect it could be more. We want to know as Americans, how's that going to be used, Mr. President? What are you planning on doing with our money? And why is that important, and why do we need to do it, and why do we need to support this?
Donna, someone who was just there and is originally from Louisiana and has seen what's going on up close and very, very personal, if you had an opportunity to tell the president, Mr. President, this is what you need to do tonight, what would you say to him?
He has to restore hope. He also has to tell the people in that area how they're going to rebuild their lives. He needs to reassure them that they will be able to move back into their homes in short order. And also, he needs to tell them that he's going to, he needs to promise them that the people of that region will help rebuild that region, and that outsiders will get an opportunity, but first let the people from that region help to rebuild that area.
What do you think of his decision, at least so far, not to name a czar to be in charge, a Rudy Giuliani, a Colin Powell, someone of that stature, to say, this is my guy, he's going to make things better, listen to him?
You know, what you're discussing, a possibility of somebody from the outside coming in and being named. I don't know that that's necessary, but somebody's got to be responsible. Somebody who can be accounted for to check off where the money goes and how it's being used and if is it appropriate. Somebody we can hold accountable for the way that money is spent. And I don't know that it has to be, I don't believe it does have to be somebody outside the government. I don't know why he cannot use somebody in the government to take this job over. So, but there's no question there has to be a point person that all of it goes through. And so when we spend that kind of money, we know, all right, this is what has to be done. Bridges, how much, who's going to get it, how are we going to contract that money out? So it is not another story 6 months from now, Wolf, about how this money was misused.
In that CNN USA Today Gallup poll that we did, as you know, Donna, there was a clear difference of opinion between African Americans, white Americans, as to the racial overtones of the lack of response in the first few days. What did you hear when you were down there?
Just extreme disappointment, anger at every politician that they can name. They felt abandoned. They felt that the country didn't respond quick enough. They're very upset with what happened to them personally. They had no idea that the levees broke, and then when they learned, the water was already too high, and they said, no one came to help us. That's the sentiment, and I can understand why the poll reflects that sentiment across the board.
What do you think, Bay?
I think you know, when you watch television, Wolf, and day after day, you see the black community being in such difficult straits. It was clear that they're the ones that suffered the most. But I think it was a real mistake on the part of Democrats to raise the race card. A very big mistake, because you take a lot of people, such as myself, who are saying, listen, obviously the federal government failed in their responsibility. A lot of other people did as well. But then all of a sudden somebody says, well, it happened because it was black. It did not. We know that, and we know that that's wrong. And so the Democrats do that. They get me out there supporting our people, again, saying, look, that is an outrageous position, and I think they hurt themselves in the long run. Middle America knows it has nothing to do with race.
Donna,
it had to do with a hurricane.
Take a look at those pictures behind you over there. You can see these are live pictures that we're getting in the continued evidence of the destruction, the despair. Trailer homes simply picked up and destroyed as if they were little, you know, nothing matchboxes or whatever. This is what you saw, Donna, when you were there.
I saw it all across the area that I was able to get to. Look, Katrina was colorblind. She damaged and destroyed everything along her path. But when the country began to rebuild this area, let's hope that we rebuild it with the same soul and the same flavor that it had before. But clearly, we want to rebuild it stronger.
And both parties should state it's Americans who are hurt, and Americans are going to come together and rebuild this.
All right.
Regardless of their economic status.
And regardless of their color.
That's good advice for everyone. Thanks to both of you for joining us. The death toll rising again in Baghdad. Up next, a look at some other headlines from around the world, including another awful day in Iraq. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Katrina's aftermath, more Americans say CNN is where they got the story. More than Fox News or MSNBC. More than NBC, ABC, or CBS. When it matters most, Americans trust CNN.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
CNN tomorrow on American Morning. Katrina, the survivors, the heroes, the work ahead. Real news and pictures from overnight. American Morning, CNN tomorrow, 7 Eastern.
Building a classic machine, stitching the stars and stripes. These are just a few of the jobs held by proud American craftsmen. So join me as I ramble around this great country of ours, talking to the people who put their hearts every day into a little label called Made in America.
John Ratzenberger's Made in America, Tuesdays at 9 on the Travel Channel.
Visit Olinger Travel Homes for a simply unbeatable deal on a new RV. 230th and TV Highway in Hillsboro and in Portland off I-84 exit 16.
In 2000, help-wanted advertising for newspapers was an $8 billion market. In 2004, it was just over $4 billion. So where'd the money go? The answer is that fewer new companies were hiring. Companies became more productive with existing employees, and many business owners started advertising their jobs online. This change eliminated almost $3 billion a year in recruiting costs. Is your company ready to start saving too? I'm David Batstone.
There are a lot of smart people buying new Fords this month, and for a very good reason. With the new Ford Family Plan, you can purchase any new 2005 at the employee price. That means you get a set price, the absolute lowest price, with no haggling, and you still get the rebates. At Newberg Ford, we currently have a great selection and something more. Our people. They're experienced, they're your neighbors, and you'll truly appreciate how they treat you.
So come see us at Newberg Ford and Mercury. We just work harder for you.
Out of Bounds with Lou Tilley, a new show that takes you inside the world of sports. Burning issues, hot topics, A-list interviews, and much more. Out of Bounds is on the cutting edge. Innovative. Informative. Original. If you want a sports show where nothing is off limits and everything is fair game, then you've got to watch Out of Bounds with Lou Tilley.
Former President Bill Clinton, hurricane relief and its global initiative. Larry King, CNN tomorrow.
Frederica Whitfield joining us once again from the CNN Center in Atlanta with a quick look at some other stories making news. Fred?
Thanks again. Good afternoon. President Bush has endorsed a plan to close 22 major U.S. military bases and reconfigure 33 others. That would put the ball in Congress's court now. Unless it rejects the plan in full, it will become final in 45 days. A developing story out of Mexico City, where a fire and series of explosions have destroyed a giant fireworks market. Mexican officials say as many as 300 individual stands may have been burned, and they say they expect dozens of injuries. The market was believed to be very busy with people buying fireworks for tomorrow's Mexican Independence Day. A new round of deadly insurgent attacks in Iraq kills at least 30 people. That number includes 2 policemen in the northern city of Kirkuk who died when a roadside bomb hit their vehicle. The latest deaths come on top of the more than 150 people killed in attacks yesterday. A U.S. military official in Baghdad called the increased violence predictable and linked it to efforts to draft constitution. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon says Palestinians have a right to freedom and their own country. Speaking at the United Nations, Mr. Sharon said the historic pullout from Gaza shows his country is ready to make peace with the Palestinians. But he added it's now up to them to eliminate terror and what he called the culture of hatred. Wolf.
Thanks very much, Fred. We'll check back with you, Frederica Whitfield at the CNN Center. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's been reading your email, getting responses to his question this hour. Jack?
What happened to Zane Burgee?
She's on vacation in London.
Which one do you like better, Fred or Zane?
I like them both.
I do too. The question this hour is, what do you want to hear President Bush say tonight when he makes that speech from the French Quarter? Kay in Royal Oak, Michigan, the president needs to comfort the people of the United States, and the only way he can do so is to completely own up for his enormous mistakes and specify a plan to not only aid the South in the wake of Katrina, but to ensure that such a devastatingly slow response to such an event never happens again. Amy in Burlington, Kansas, maybe appointing people to positions for which they had no prior experience was a bad idea. I think that's a reference to FEMA. Wanda in Fort Worth, Texas, I want to hear him say that all rebuilding jobs will be offered to the New Orleans residents first and at fair wages. Brian in Evansville, Indiana, I want to hear solutions. How are we preparing ourselves for future catastrophes? What's he doing as our elected official to help all Americans? Or we could hear his resignation. I'd accept either one. Tom in Surfside, Florida writes, that's easy, Jack. He should appoint you head of FEMA so we don't have to listen to you whine about all this anymore. And finally, this one. Say it again, Wolf. I love the way you say my name. Signed, Ophelia.
You know, Jack, the president's going to be reading that speech tonight from a teleprompter, which you and I know is not necessarily as easy as it looks.
Not always. No, it can be a little tricky. But he, I think that's probably a good idea in his case, that he have that teleprompter there.
I hope he has a piece of paper in front of him as a backup, just in case the teleprompter operator, as you and I also know, screws up.
Well, I think they have better prompter operators at the White House than we do, I think.
Not necessarily. If you remember Bill Clinton's first speech before a joint session of Congress.
I do, and
they
the
didn't have
prompter
it.
simply
He
stopped.
went, and he just ad-libbed.
Yeah, and he could do that. I'm not so sure that this president is maybe that strong in the ad-libbing department, but I do remember that, and he carried it off pretty well. But that's everybody's nightmare who's working off a prompter. Suddenly you look up and it ain't moving.
They better have a good prompter operator and good backup technology down there. I hope they do.
Okay, thanks, Wolf.
Thanks, Jack. Jack Cafferty. We'll check back with him. Up next, we'll check out Katrina relief efforts online when we talk to our internet reporters. Plus, Ophelia, yes, Ophelia lashing out at the North Carolina coast right now. We're tracking the hurricane, where it's moving up north. We'll have a live report. That's coming up. And later, one of the worst after effects of Katrina, parents desperate to find their missing children. We'll go live to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Much more coming up.
CNN Primetime tonight at 7.
Once they come back, we'll have the critical services for them to at least live a semi-normal life.
With large parts of the city underwater, are officials jumping the gun to get things back to normal? Anderson Cooper is live in New Orleans. CNN tonight, 7 Eastern.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win.
When you refinance at LendingTree.com, you can save up to $200 a month with a lower rate. Just think what you can do with the money. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
Go to your average bank, get a mortgage, and buy a house like this. Go to Wachovia, meet with a mortgage specialist who can show you a range of financing options, and buy a house more like this. Getting more house for your money. That's a mortgage at Wachovia.
To work with a Wachovia mortgage specialist, call 1-866-908-HOUSE or go online today.
Design possibilities and innovative appliances from GE, Maytag, and LG, come to the Home Depot. Discover a beautiful selection and guaranteed low prices. Right now, get up to a $150 Home Depot gift card by mail-in rebate when you buy select major appliances.
At the Home Depot, you can do it. We can help.
Thomas Jefferson. His legacy includes the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The Westward Journey Nickel Series from the United States Mint commemorates the bicentennials of these events with a new likeness of Thomas Jefferson on the 2005 nickel, plus 2 new historic tail designs. The nickels are included in beautifully crafted silver-proof sets, a great gift idea for any occasion. To order, call 1-800-USA-MINT or visit www.usmint.gov.
It's been a great summer with Employee Pricing Plus. It's been a huge success, and the 2005 models are going fast. Because right now, during the final days of Employee Pricing Plus at your Dodge dealership, the deals have gotten even better. The remaining 2005 models won't last long, so hurry in now for the best selection. Remember,
if you can find a better car, buy it.
So I'd say if you can find a better car, buy it.
If the ride is more fly, then you must buy.
That's what I hear.
Well, you never know when you might encounter a beer without character. That's why we test our recruits for every situation.
Great tasting, less filler, Miller Lite.
No, we're not superheroes. More like ministers of culture.
Intentional taste mask. Character, substance, personal style.
A lot of people have great taste and don't even know it. We help them see their potential.
Intentional taste mask.
Intentional taste mask.
Don't cry on me.
I teach taste. That's what I do.
Character.
CNN Primetime tonight at 8. Paula Zahn begins our coverage of the president's address to the nation. At 9, Wolf Blitzer anchors CNN's live coverage of the speech. Then Larry King with reaction from around the country. Live coverage of the president's address beginning CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
We're showing you live pictures throughout the week of what's happening in Hurricane Katrina along the Gulf Coast. These are live pictures what's happening in the aftermath of Hurricane Ophelia along the North Carolina coast. These are live pictures coming in. You see the destruction already coming in from Hurricane Ophelia. Much more of that coming up at the top of the hour, in the next hour of the Situation Room. And here in the Situation Room, we're plugged into virtually everything happening online. As people start to return to their homes following Hurricane Katrina, the internet is filling up with pictures and first-hand accounts of the destruction. Our internet reporters Jackie Schachner and Abby Tatton are standing by with more on that. What is going on, guys?
Well, Wolf, people returning to their homes in the areas damaged by Hurricane Katrina, but also insurance agents going down there to assess their claims. There's a lot of people there who have had their lives devastated, their homes destroyed. And one blogger is also an insurance adjuster, and he's been documenting everything going on down there. Matt from Michigan has been deployed to the region. He blogs at lapierliving.blogspot.com. He's actually put up a map there so you can see the area under his jurisdiction, under his control, a huge area down to the coast of Mississippi there. The pictures on the site are quite devastating. He's posted so many homes destroyed, inside and out, but also areas where the homes have just completely disappeared. He says he's also talking about what it's like to be an insurance adjuster down there, saying that they're worried about threats against the insurance adjusters, and they've even posted security by their offices. He says they're really trying to be sympathetic to the natives who he says are restless down there. Sometimes he documents individual houses. This one was on the historic register, almost completely destroyed there. Fortunately, this house also had flood insurance, but he said many people did not and were not so lucky.
I want to take you to one house in particular, this one in Eden Isles, which is on Lake Pontchartrain, just south of Slidell, Louisiana. We've seen a lot of the exterior of homes. Here are some photos that were posted online. They've got all of their belongings on the lawn. Now we want to take you inside some of these houses. Think about this. People are taking photos now to document for these insurance agents, but when was the last time we saw these mass posted like this on the internet, where people can really show you the inside of their home with the mold and the muck and the dirt? This is what it looks like now in the living room. If you look real closely, you can notice the mold on the wall. Think about your shower and how long it takes for the mold to grow. This is the mold climbing up the walls. More of this from the hallways. It's really sort of devastating. Take a look at this if you can see it. It's kind of dark. This is the mold on the wall in the bathroom, and then a thick layer of dirt over in the corner there on top of the toilet bowl. Speaking of mud, here is the garage. This is inside the garage. Just that unbelievable sludge and muck and mud. What the houses in the area look like, well, that one fared pretty well compared to the rest of the photographs coming out of the Slidell area in this particular Eden Isles neighborhood. Take a look at that. That's just the corner of one of the houses still standing. We got a lot of these photos through Brian Oberkirk's blog, slidell.weblogswork.com. He is from Slidell, had evacuated to Dallas, and now, Wolf, that he's gone back in, he is documenting not only the damage, but the recovery efforts and how people are really coming back together. Send it back to you.
All right, guys, thank you very much. It's coming up on 5 p.m. here in Washington, and you're in the Situation Room where we're following one dangerous hurricane hitting right now and the deadly aftermath of another. In fact, happening right now, it's 5 p.m. along the Carolina coast, where Hurricane Ophelia is nearly at a standstill, still hammering the region with a long, slow assault. We have new pictures of the devastation that are just coming in. We'll show them to you. And it's 4 p.m. Central Time along the Gulf Coast, where Katrina has just been officially declared the most destructive hurricane ever to hit the United States. It's also 4 p.m. Central Time in New Orleans, where President Bush will be making a major speech to the nation tonight about the disaster that's coming up in just a few hours. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Mission critical for coastal North Carolina this hour. Hurricane Ophelia, a very unwelcome visitor, hammering away at the region. And these images are just coming into CNN. New video of the damage being caused by this storm. This at Salter Path on the Outer Banks. Some areas have had up to 1.5 feet of rain. Some rivers are swelling under storm surges of up to 9 feet. And making matters worse right now, the storm is barely moving at all. The wind, the rain, the pounding waves just coming in. Some areas now experiencing their second full day of Ophelia's assault. Along the Atlantic coast, Hurricane Ophelia is battering North Carolina's Outer Banks. The storm has been reluctant to move on, and the steady pounding has now taken a toll. We have new pictures, as I said, of the damage. CNN meteorologist Rob Marciano is joining us now live from Salter Path in North Carolina. Looks pretty bad where you are, Rob.
I'll tell you what, Wolf, earlier today in the Situation Room, I made mention of Hurricane Isabel, which struck as a Category 2 storm just 2 years ago, and that officials were saying the damage from Ophelia not up to Isabel. Well, they didn't see this area. This is Salter Path. This is about 10 miles from where we rode out the storm. This is on the bay side of the island, meaning the ocean's over there, and all the damage you see behind me was done by what normally is calm water. This is behind me is a fish processing house, completely ruined. Look how the wave action just tore apart this cinder block. I mean, I don't want to say, but we haven't seen damage like this. Is similar to what I saw in Biloxi on a much smaller scale, but the storm surge that powerful. Cinder blocks completely pulverized in. By the way, I'm looking south right now. All the waves and wind came from the northeast, and you can see how the northwestern side of that building is more blown out than this corner. You can really see where the waves came in here. Obviously, you can hear the hum of the generators. That's something very familiar, especially to the folks who are dealing with the aftermath of Katrina. How in the world could this happen? This is the sound. You know, you're not supposed to have this sort of storm surge. Pan out and take a look at what is now pretty calm water, but last night 5 and 6 foot breakers were coming in here, and what we have apparently are 2 inlets on either side of this island. We're situated right smack in the middle. During high tide of the ocean, all that water rushed into this area, which had been getting pummeled by east and northeast winds for 2 days. The water had been piling up in the middle of this sound, and then when high tide came last night in advance of Ophelia, all that water rose up. And Wolf, it's got to be at least a 10, if not 12-foot storm surge on the sound. You know, you talk to the locals here, the locals who lived through Isabel, the locals who lived through Hazel back in 1954, that was a Category 4, and they say they've never seen anything like this. Unbelievable here, Salter's Path, North Carolina. Wolf?
Rob, is it isolated, that destruction that we see behind you right now, or is it up and down the coast as it was along the Mississippi coast in Biloxi, as you know?
Well, I tell you what, Jack, let's pan a little bit. Wolf, this is not the only spot. We didn't just set up shop here because there was one place that happened to get some waves. I mean, this entire stretch of what used to be docks, fish warehouses, and restaurants completely pulverized by this storm surge. We were going to eat here 3 nights ago before the storm arrived. This is the Crab Shack. This is an institution here in Salter Path. They've got a dock that goes out. Used to have a dock, and the fishing boats. The guy who owns this restaurant actually has a fishing boat. He brings in fresh shrimp and bay scallops right into his restaurant. I mean, the locals just love this place, and it goes back over 30 years. And you can see down the stretch of beach, dock, waterfront area, all the destruction. So, Wolf, no, it's not isolated. And what we've also heard, we haven't been able to get to the other side of the sound, but directly across Bogue Sound from here, on the north side, similar destruction has been described to us. So we're going to have to check that out at some point, but that's a long drive away and one step at a time. Folks here recovering from this. By the way, Wolf, we do computer models that determine what will happen in, say, a Category 4, Category 5 storm when a storm surge comes up. Even a Cat 5 storm that would come through here did not predict this would happen. An unbelievable, almost a freak thing, but it's just one more point that, it's very difficult to predict what Mother Nature will bring, especially during a hurricane.
I don't know if you can reach over there. I don't know if those individuals behind you, Rob, want to say something, but I'd be interested in getting their reaction. They're probably local residents who've seen their businesses, their homes pretty much destroyed right now. It'd be good to get them, if they want to discuss this, obviously. Well, I'm not sure they do, but if they do, it'd be good to bring them over to the camera.
We're gonna try to do that. I did talk with some of the folks who live here off camera who are dealing with this kind of damage right now, and I tell you, I've heard this more than once in the last hour. This is nothing compared to the poor folks who are suffering from Katrina. So I mean, if it's anything good that's coming out of Katrina is that folks here, even after all this destruction, are looking on the bright side of things and saying, hey, it could be a lot worse. But we'll try to get some folks over to you before the end of the hour and have you chat them up.
All right, good. I want you to chat them up. I want you to talk to them. But one final question, Rob, before I let you go. You're a meteorologist. Is a hurricane Category 1, which didn't even hit, the eye didn't even hit, is it supposed to do this kind of damage to brick buildings like that? Cinder block?
Not at all. And we've said it time and time again in the last 2 days. The biggest deal with this storm has been its slow movement. And because it was sitting and just flailing away 200 miles south of here for a couple of days, that brought a consistent east wind, northeast wind into this area. That meant that any water that would come in from the ocean from high tide, any water that came down from the rivers draining from natural freshwater rainfall, piled up in this sound. And then when the high tide and storm surge came in, when Ophelia finally got close enough, all that water was just pinched up and forced up, and on top of that, 5 and 6 foot breakers. So to answer your question, no, this is not supposed to happen in a Category 1 storm, but this wasn't an ordinary Category 1 hurricane, that's for sure.
All right, Rob, stand by. We're going to come back to you and we'll get an update on what's going on, see if some of those local residents want to share some thoughts with our viewers. Let's get an update now on where Hurricane Ophelia is heading. For that, let's turn to our meteorologist, Bonnie Schneider, at CNN's Hurricane Headquarters. What's the latest forecast, Bonnie?
Okay, well, if we have the latest advisory that just came through, Ophelia is now barely a hurricane. The maximum winds are at 75 miles per hour. An Air Force reconnaissance aircraft reported that that's the winds that they found. And some good news, the storm is starting to move just a little bit, drifting now to the east-northeast. The more east it goes, the better, the more it moves away from the land. And it's really drifting very slowly, east-northeast near 3, and this motion is expected to continue. But once it starts getting over the open waters, we are expecting it to speed up just a little bit. Now, with this new information, we have some other updates for you. Instead of a hurricane warning, because Ophelia is now a very low-level hurricane, just barely that, with winds at 75 miles per hour, the hurricane warning that was in effect is now a tropical storm warning, and that stretches further north than it did before, from Cape Lookout, North Carolina, up to Cape Charles Light in Virginia. And that does include a small portion of the Chesapeake down through here, the very lower point of the Chesapeake, right through this region here. So that's where we're watching for a tropical storm warning. Now, as we take a look at the track of Ophelia, what we can expect is the possibility for tropical storm force winds and some rough surf as well, further to the north as well. And that could be pretty far north, even up into New England. A tropical storm watch is now in effect from Woods Hole, Massachusetts, up through Plymouth, Massachusetts. Now that does include the Cape and the islands, meaning Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. And Woods Hole is the area where you get that ferry to Martha's Vineyard. So we're talking about an area that encompasses those islands as well. Now what that means is tropical storm force conditions may be felt within the next 36 hours, meaning some strong winds as well. So right now we're talking about two separate areas, from North Carolina to Virginia, and then back up to coastal Massachusetts, where we're watching for things just to pick up with the wind and the waves. That won't occur till the weekend. The immediate threat right now is to Virginia and the Carolinas, where we're watching for Ophelia to continue its slow movement to the east-northeast now at 3 miles per hour. So, Wolf, the good news is at least the storm is finally on the move.
Thanks very much, Bonnie Schneider at the CNN Hurricane Headquarters. Tom Foreman is here in the Situation Room with us. You're looking closely where Rob Marciano was. What's going on from your vantage point? Because I know you got some new high technology. You can focus in on this area.
I'm going to take a look at this. This is exactly what we were talking about yesterday. You and I were discussing the notion if you have a storm like this, even if it's not that strong, even if it's a tropical storm, and it sits there and sits there, it'll do damage, particularly areas like Salter Point. I want to show you what Salter Point looks like right here. This is Salter Point. As we zoom in, you see the eastern seaboard here. We move Salter Path, excuse me, I keep saying the wrong way. Salter Path. This is the area right here. I'm going to highlight it here so you see exactly the spot. That's where it is, and that's where Rob is. This is Bogue Sound over here, the part he's talking about. A lot of water up in here. This is actually Salter Path and all of these areas which are part of what is called the Crystal Coast down there. It's a vacation spot, a place to go fishing, a place where people camp a lot. Some of it's very rustic. Not a lot of people living there year-round. But this is really a 25, 26-mile long barrier island that is very narrow across the way here. So when you move into these areas, you see how isolated this is with water on both sides. And that's what happens. A big storm like this comes in and sits, and it grinds on that water, and it grinds on those buildings. There's nowhere else to go. There's only one road up and down here. So that can make a small storm pretty damaging. Now let's look at the storm for a moment. This is the wide shot of where the storm is right now. If you take a look at the storm, and let me see if I can bring it in the proper way here, you see the storm is sitting right out here in the middle of the ocean right now. Previously, it was above there, so it didn't really do, this is without the storm. There's the shelf out there, which we talked about yesterday, below the water, which intensifies the power of the storm. If it's on this side of it, a little bit stronger. As soon as it gets out there where it falls away, things start changing within the dynamics of the storm. That's one of the reasons a place like Salter Path gets hit so hard. So this is one of the reasons we were looking for it yesterday. If the storm will move off now, that'll be good and it'll be over. But this is good evidence of why even small hurricanes have to be taken very seriously.
Tom, look at Rob Marciano. He's there in Salter Path right now. He's showing us that destruction, which is pretty serious. Does it look like it's basically, though, over where you are, Rob, the worst of it?
Oh, without a doubt, Wolf. I mean, the core of this storm has moved on. We're getting a bit of a northwest wind now, which is indicative of the center being that way. The skies are brightening a little bit, and the winds they've been blustery all day long, but nothing compared with what we saw last night. I tell you, when we shut down our broadcast last night at midnight, that's when the winds really started honking. I mean, they were coming out of the north seemingly faster than they were coming when the eye wall was right on us. And when I talked to everybody around here, when the water started to rise around 10 p.m., and when the surge started to come in and do destruction, that happened after midnight. So it was the surge and then that north wind that really broke the camel's back here in Salter Path. And well, to answer your question, no, Wolf, everything is beginning to calm down now, and the danger of any sort of future damage is over.
As Tom Foreman was showing us, Rob, you're really on a strip of land surrounded by water, and that water can be devastating.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You can't stop water. Water and fire is the two things on Earth that are just mankind can't compete. And when you're talking about a hurricane churning up the Atlantic Ocean in a little sliver of land like this that has inlets on either side, and then water on the other side, it doesn't take much to get things rocking and rolling here in the water. It doesn't take much water, Wolf, to get damage that we've seen here. Cinder blocks just pulverized in some cases. Unbelievable.
Rob, we're going to get back to you. Rob, thank you very much. Tom Foreman, thanks to you as well here in the Situation Room. Let's check in with CNN's Jack Cafferty in New York for this hour's question. Jack?
Guess who's back in the news? Well, former President Bill Clinton is hosting the first gathering of something called the Clinton Global Initiative. It starts today here in New York City. The summit aims to tackle some of the world's biggest problems: poverty, global warming, religious and ethnic conflict. Tickets go for $15,000 a pop. About 800 people, including 50 heads of state and 300 CEOs, are expected to attend. This thing will last over 3 days. Now, for $15,000, you'll be given an assignment. You'll be expected to report back to Mr. Clinton. Those who don't report back don't get invited back. Critics are expressing concern that Mr. Clinton's mini-UN, if you will dilute the work of the real UN, like anybody could tell if that happened. Here's the question. What's former President Bill Clinton up to, do you think? Email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com, and we'll read some of the answers. This is a magic name when it comes to email solicitation. All you have to say is the word Clinton, whether it's Bill or Hillary, and people get to their keyboards and get to write. And he elicits a lot of responses, pro and con, as you might expect.
And I suspect a lot of those responses, this being a family network, you're not going to be able to read on the air, John.
Now. See, right away, you go to the lowest common denominator. You're not talking about that situation with the intern.
No. I'm just talking about some of the anger out there as far as Bill Clinton is concerned. Jack, stand by. We'll get back to you. In New Orleans, the mayor is calling this a good day now that he's announced plans to reopen parts of the city, the least damaged parts of the city by Hurricane Katrina. We'll have live reports from New Orleans and see if it's really ready for people to start heading back. Plus, the President of the United States returning to the disaster zone tonight. We'll tell you what he's doing and what he'll say, at least what we're hearing, what he'll say tonight to try to comfort a concerned nation. And more live coverage of the hurricane that simply won't let up, the drenching, the damage from Hurricane Ophelia. You're in the Situation Room.
All design begins with a single line. A line that challenges. A line that creates power or control or size. At infinity, a line has been drawn.
Oh, she's precious.
She's got your eyes. Can I hold her?
Me too.
If only you could share moments with everyone almost instantly. Fortunately, Walgreens' new digital service lets you upload photos to Walgreens.com so your friends and family can pick up prints in as little as an hour at thousands of locations.
If you're a homeowner and you need cash, call or log on to ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you to consolidate debts and lower your payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-80-DITECH.
Be frugal.
Be decisive.
Be opportunistic. Be powerful. In other words, be extraordinary. Power E-Trade Pro, radically upgraded and now with low pricing for stock and options trades. At E-Trade Financial, we keep challenging the ordinary to help investors be extraordinary.
In Katrina's aftermath, more Americans say CNN is where they got the story. More than any other network. When it matters most, Americans trust CNN.
High tech, high speed, and the height of cool. Once you've seen them, you won't want to travel without them. Saturdays, the Travel Channel's outfitting you with the latest in travel accessories, personal locators, electric bicycles, your own private submarine. We've got your ultimate gear. Travel gear, Saturdays at 5, only on the Travel Channel.
The following brought to you by Valley RV Center, the Northwest's #1 Banks Power dealer.
Confused by the claims DSL's been making? Blah, blah, fast. Blah, blah, cool. Look, the fact is, Comcast high-speed internet blows DSL away. We're talking speeds up to 5 times faster. More speed means you can do more online. With exclusive features that, well, DSL just doesn't have. So if you're settling for DSL, you're getting left behind. No wonder more people across America choose Comcast high-speed internet. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
Straight talk, a promise of action. A global summit, CNN Saturday night, 8 Eastern.
These are live pictures that we're seeing right now. Live pictures coming from New Orleans, unfortunately, all too familiar. Still, big parts of New Orleans underwater, as you can see, although the water is going down and more parts of this city beginning to dry up. The mayor earlier today making some optimistic statements, suggesting that people will be allowed to start coming back in the coming days, including businesses that will be reopened in the French Quarter of New Orleans. But right now, at least in this part of New Orleans, you can see much of this city underwater, and as much as this water is still very, very visible, it has gone down. It has gone down significantly over the past 2.5 weeks. They're pumping out water big time in New Orleans. There's still, though, lots and lots and lots of work must be done. There's also new information we're getting here in the Situation Room from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on the massive task of draining those floodwaters out of New Orleans. Let's get the latest. Our senior Pentagon correspondent Jamie McIntyre standing by with more. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, as we look at those live pictures of what's going on in New Orleans, keep in mind that it's not so much the pumping that's getting the water out, but gravity as the water is draining back into Lake Pontchartrain. And today, an optimistic prediction from the Army Corps of Engineers, barring any more storms, they're saying that in 5 days, some very significant areas of New Orleans will be essentially dry, and then they're predicting that by October 2nd, early October, less than 3 weeks, they will have essentially gotten all the water out of the city, again, barring a storm. Also today, Wolf, though, an admission from the Army Corps of Engineers that they could have been much better prepared to do those emergency levee repairs in the middle of a flood. And essentially that they could have had, and probably should have had, more helicopters, more sandbags, those big 3,000-pound sandbags, pre-positioned, standing by to go in and do the repairs right away. And again, it wouldn't have prevented the flood, but it might have speeded up the recovery, possibly limited some of the damage. And the third thing they said today was that they're going to go back and look at a plan that they rejected back in the 60s and 70s because of environmental concerns and a lawsuit, that would, instead of building up the levees, put big barriers to the two areas where the Gulf moves into Lake Pontchartrain. The idea is you could perhaps do a better job protecting New Orleans in the future by preventing Lake Pontchartrain from filling up from the storm surge instead of having to build the levees up to withstand a Category 4 hurricane. But again, the Army Corps doesn't decide this. They're just going to present options, but they're going to go back and look at that plan, Wolf.
All right, Jamie, thanks very much. Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon. Coming up close and personal in New Orleans, Anderson Cooper standing by. He'll take us on a tour of the area to tell us what he's experiencing in Katrina's aftermath. Plus, the youngest hurricane victims revisited. We're on the scene for the mission to bring missing children and their parents back together. We'll be right back.
When something really fits, you can feel it. Like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive. It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place, gives you all over coverage, all over hold. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
The denture adhesive with the gasket fit. C-Bond. And give toothpaste and tablets the brush off. New C-Bond Brightening Gel Cleanser does the job of both.
Your challenge, get the right forces there as fast as you can.
Tell emerging from concealment. Transmit alarm ready.
Achieve air dominance. Engage the right targets with pinpoint precision. Force application. Precision engagement. Decisions made possible by net-centric systems, turning data into knowledge and knowledge into action.
Target destroyed.
Lockheed Martin.
Transmit all clear.
We never forget who we're working for.
How many days is spring break?
21.
Won't you miss your room?
A little bit.
Won't you miss Rocky?
You know what I'm gonna miss the most?
What?
This face.
Mr. Buckley, welcome to Residence Inn.
Residence Inn. All suites with all the comforts.
Here, working. A low profile on the high plateau, vanishing in the shadows of the buttes. Bred to be nature's neighbor, reaching miles deep for energy America needs. A natural gas well, meeting the demand in harmony with the land. With still more to explore.
We saw it coming. We were right there as it happened. We stayed to ask the tough questions. We're there now as communities rebuild, to tell the human stories, to demand the truth. It's what you expect. It's why we're here. CNN.
Victims of Hurricane Katrina have lots of questions about their financial recovery. Our Ellie Velci standing by in New York got the bottom line on some of the tough issues, heart-wrenching issues a lot of these victims are facing, Ellie.
Yeah, it's tough because at some point as the recovery, goes forward, we have to start looking at the things that people have to do. We've already heard news today about some difficulties in terms of insurance coverage. We're now hearing that the House and the Senate have both passed bills, hurricane tax relief bills. They're both a little bit different, but they'll be reconciled, and certainly that gives some fodder to the president.
Ellie, let me just interrupt you for a second. Look at that live picture that we're getting into. That house simply flattened over there. You can imagine the destructive power of this Category 4 hurricane. Go ahead.
And once we start looking at stuff like that, that's the issue, that it's not just about going back and saying, hey, my house is gone. It's forms and it's applications and things like that. So the government has at least started to move on how to give some tax relief to either people donating, businesses getting back on their feet, or to residents of the area. And I'm just going to give you some of the details. If you're a Hurricane Katrina victim, you can get another 13 weeks of unemployment benefit according to these two bills that will be coming together. This is likely to be the outcome of it. It'll provide for a tax break to people who provide others with housing from the area, the affected area. So it's going to give some tax breaks to employers who hire victims of Katrina and who keep people on the payroll despite the loss. And we've seen a lot of that in the last few weeks. A lot of companies who have said we will continue paying our employees who've been affected. Also, the federal government is announcing that it's going to pick up 100% of the Medicaid costs. Usually that cost is split between the states and the federal government. If you're in that area, the federal government's picking up the costs of that. So we're going to hear some of that from the president tonight, and more of it coming out of the government when these two bills are reconciled. Wolf.
All right, Ellie, thanks very much. We'll check back with you. We're going to come back after a short break, go over to North Carolina, where our crews are on the scene. There's new destruction in the wake of Hurricane Ophelia. Our Rob Marciano is there. We'll go back there live right after this.
This is the Coopers' long-awaited getaway. There's only one problem. This isn't the Coopers. It's the Vaughns who stole their wallet.
My wallet was stolen. Honey, I need another 50s. Hello?
Presenting the American Express Traveler's Check Card. The safety of traveler's checks in a convenient card. It's prepaid. If it's stolen, your balance is replaced in 24 hours. It's your vacation. Why lose it? The Traveler's Check Card from American Express. Order yours now and get a free companion airfare.
There's an even better way to care for your nest egg. Objective financial advice. A.G. Edwards. For 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
Have you seen my new pillow windows? They're stunning. But look at this. The shades are in the windows? Yeah, so they don't get dirty or damaged. And they work like regular shades? No, even better, they're cordless. Look at that. One, it's so easy to change the shades, too. Oh my gosh, look at that. Do it again.
Designer Series windows and doors. Only from Pella.
That's great.
Eventually, you'll look through them. The Welcome Home Sale is going on now. Call today for a free consultation.
CNN Primetime tonight at 8. Paul Hassan begins our coverage of the president's address to the nation. At 9, Wolf Blitzer anchors CNN's live coverage of the speech. Then Larry King with reaction from around the country. Live coverage of the president's address beginning CNN tonight, 8 Eastern.
The day since Hurricane Katrina struck, CNN's Anderson Cooper has been on the scene watching all of this unfold. He's joining us now live from New Orleans. Anderson, thanks very much. Where in the city are you right now? Because that building right behind you looks totally destroyed.
Yeah, we're not too far from the French Quarter, really the downtown area. You can take a look at the building. You see that it's very strange, Wolf, and you've been in a lot of areas like this. A whole row of houses will be fine, and then one house will have totally collapsed. And we're seeing this, just about any block you go down in New Orleans. But there are whole parts of this town, really, which are okay. I mean, there are trees down or power lines down. And those are the areas that the mayor hopes to start moving people back into sooner rather than later. Today he announced his plan to get about 180,000 people back into the city over the next couple of weeks. That surprised a lot of people because, when you think about it, Wolf, there are no schools open here. Gas, you can't get gas. There's no electricity in a lot of parts of the town. And still about 40% of New Orleans is underwater, Wolf.
There was so much despair in those early days. How are people right now? You're speaking to a lot of the residents, if there are any people around where you are. How are they dealing with a little bit more hopeful sign right now?
Well, I think this announcement by the mayor of moving people back into the city, I think it caught a lot of people around here sort of by surprise. There has been a diehard element which has never wanted to leave, which hasn't left. And they are certainly gratified. I think they feel that they've been vindicated to some extent. But people want to get back in here. But there are still, you go up in the 9th Ward, you go in areas that have had really severe flooding, and they're still doing search and rescue operations, which are really just recovery operations, trying to get an accurate sense of how many people have been lost, how many lives have been lost, and get those people back, to their loved ones and restore them to dignity. I mean, there are still people who have died in this storm who are in their homes undiscovered, and law enforcement and National Guard and military troops are going door to door, breaking down windows. I talked to a guy from the 82nd Airborne last night. I said, what exactly do you do when you go into one of those homes? He basically said you break the window, you stick your head in, and you smell, and you know very quickly whether or not there are people inside.
Anderson, is there one moment, I'm sure there are many, many moments, but there's one moment that will forever be stuck in your head, in your brain, and in your heart that you experienced that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think all of us who report, we carry the people that we've reported on with us always, and we never forget them. And for me, it was probably in the early days out in Waveland, Mississippi, going out with this urban search and rescue team, Task Force 2 from Virginia, and just going to these people's homes and finding them, drowned in their living rooms, drowned in their homes. In one, there was a mother who had an infant child, and she was clutching onto a life preserver, a little child's life preserver. Clearly, she had been trying to put that life preserver on her child, hoping that life preserver would save the child's life. It's images like those that I can't get out of my head, and I don't think anyone of us who was here and covering this can either, Wolf.
Anderson Cooper doing an excellent job for us in the area. Don't forget to our viewers tonight, Anderson will be back on the air. Anderson Cooper 360 airs at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then at 10 p.m., he and Aaron Brown will be back for more coverage of this horrible, horrible hurricane. Anderson, thank you very much. And to our viewers also, please don't forget, the president will be addressing the nation tonight from New Orleans. That speech, scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern, will be here in the Situation Room. We'll be carrying the president's speech live. We showed you some new live pictures of Hurricane Ophelia and the damage that it caused right at the top of the hour. Let's go back to CNN meteorologist Rob Marciano. He's in Salter Path, North Carolina, and he's got more. Rob?
Wolf, sun just starting to finally come out now, and unfortunately it's illuminating even more of the damage that nobody thought we'd see here in Salter Path. We pointed out to you a couple of things, a couple of fish houses, and one very famous, at least locally, restaurant here called the Crab Shack. I've got the owners with me. They're brothers. They're the Guthrie brothers and their nephew Brennan here. Let's start with you, Eric. You were actually just up the road when the storm started rolling in. At what time did you last see the place last night?
I believe it was about 6 o'clock.
And what did the water look like at that point?
The water had come up right good. It hadn't got inside the restaurant yet.
And what are the local officials and maybe some of the local weathermen, how did they predict? You know, we were saying that there was going to be a storm surge, but I got to be honest with you, I never thought it would be like this, at least on this side of the Sound. What were you hearing yesterday or before the storm hit?
Around 5 foot of storm surge.
This kind of damage is much more than 5 feet.
Oh yeah. We've had 5 foot here before. Nothing like this.
You were not here last night when this happened. You're a firefighter by trade.
Yeah.
And Craig, tell me what this place was like before the storm occurred.
Before the storm, we would be standing in the dining room. This whole place out here was a dining room. You walked in here, we had a deck out here. Back behind you was a deck. It was all glassed in behind you here.
Really?
Yeah.
And I was told that there's also boat docks.
Yes. We have 2 boats. One would have been here and one would have been here. We moved those a couple of days ago before the storm come.
And what were those boats used for?
Shrimping. Shrimping. Yeah.
So
Catching shrimp.
Catch those shrimps, bring them right into the restaurant. That's some fresh seafood right there.
Sure is.
That sounds good. Let's show me inside if you could. Watch your step. Obviously, you got stuff going on inside. Did you have seating in here as well? I mean, this is completely wiped out. This is cinder blocks and the tile roofing, insulation down.
This was, like I said, this was brick. This was the oldest part of the business. It used to be a fish house, and we made it a restaurant. My dad did, but it was seating on here, waitress station, the kitchen's back here. I said you come out here to your outside deck to sit and stuff. We had tables outside on the deck and everything you could sit on. And everything.
What's going through your mind? What's going through your gut right now? A family business like that's been around. I mean, what are you feeling?
The biggest thing, the hardest thing for me was having to be on the phone when he told my dad. Talk to him. That was the hardest thing for me. And when I came in this morning, I was shocked. I mean, they told me, but I couldn't believe it when I walked in here. I had to walk around a little bit and just look at it and see to make sure it was true.
Yeah.
And
how'd your dad take it?
He was very upset. That's not. I could tell when I talked to him on the phone. He just kept telling me it's gone. The place is gone. But we're working on it. We're going to get it cleaned up. We got all the mud out, the wood out, and we're going to rebuild it.
Well, we actually, I don't hate to be selfish, but we had heard great things about your place. We tried to get down here a couple of days ago to eat, and we missed out.
Well, I wish you would. Tell you what, we're going to try to have it before Easter. That's our job. We're going to try to get things up before Easter, and I think we will. We're going to work hard. We'll do it.
All right, Craig. Well, I'm sorry this had to happen to you. We appreciate your good spirit.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you for coming.
The Guthrie brothers, they own this place. It's a Crab Shack, Wolf. It's been an institution in this area for almost 30 years now, and it's pretty much gone. But they're in good spirits, at least.
I suspect, Rob, they're going to rebuild it, make it better than ever. I'm sure, given the spirit that they have, they will. Rob Marciano on the scene for us in North Carolina. Images from Ophelia. Some in North Carolina are posting pictures of the damage there online. Our internet reporter, Abby Tatton, is checking that situation. She's joining us now live. Abby?
Hi, Wolf. We've heard from our reporters about Ophelia battering the coast of North Carolina, but inland there's been flooding in certain neighborhoods. And where streets are impassable, 2 local news stations have been asking their viewers to send in photos of the damage and the flooding in different neighborhoods. This from WWAY-TV 3 showing the roads. This one here is south of Wilmington, Bell Swamp Connection Road. You can see a car submerged there, truck trying to pull it out. Another one here from Greg and Karen Thompson, also at WWAY-TV 3. This is actually a bridge with knee-deep water now and another abandoned car. Another local station here, WECT.com, also has pictures from the viewers. Neighborhoods under a foot of water here. This one here is Wildwood Village, looking more like a lake. So certainly flooding in neighborhoods, impassable streets, but not too severe. Maybe a foot of water from these photos that we're seeing, and also some people having fun with it. This group of young men having fun in the backyard, and also I wouldn't recommend this at home, but there's some creative surfing in the back of an SUV there, Wolf.
That could be dangerous. Don't do that. Abby, thank you very, very much. Coming up in the Situation Room, there are still children missing from Hurricane Katrina. Still parents holding out hopes of finding them. We'll tell you what one agency is doing. And it's a pricey and exclusive invitation reserved for kings, business titans, and other very important people. That would be President Clinton's summit in New York City. What's it really for? We've been asking you that question. Jack Cafferty is going through your email. He'll join us. Stay with us.
is that?
Oh, that's ING. They're the financial services company that's all about fresh thinking. They're full of new ideas, so you're ready for whatever comes along.
I know about ING. What is that?
It's a guy with his own theme music.
Ask your financial professional about ING.
My brother learned to read in first grade. I learned before kindergarten. I use the computer. Now I write my own books. One is about an elephant with amnesia and a toad who thinks he's a frog. I also have a scanner, so I can add pictures. That way, even my brother can understand.
Start something literary. Start anything you like with a world of software and devices that run on Windows.
How does the Merck Patient Assistance Program help people?
Because of the program, I get the medication I need.
The program? My doctor told me about it.
You may be eligible for the Merck Patient Assistance Program if you don't have health insurance or a drug plan and are also unable to afford the Merck medicines your doctor prescribes. Your doctor can make the request.
Because of the program, I get my medications free.
For nearly 50 years, the Merck Patient Assistance Program has helped millions of people get the Merck medicines they need at absolutely no charge. If you're eligible, the Merck medicines you need can be delivered to your doctor or right to your home.
The program sends the medications straight to my house.
At Merck, we believe our medicines should be available to the people who need them. For more information, call 1-800-727-5400 or click on Merck.com. The Merck Patient Assistance Program. Merck, where patients come first.
Countdown to TV's Emmy Awards. This week on Showbiz Tonight. The nominees on their shows, life off camera, and the personal impact of Hurricane Katrina. Then, next Monday night, your awards wrap-up. Winners, losers, what's next? Showbiz Tonight. Headline Prime. This week, 7 and 11 Eastern. Sponsored by Buick. The 2006 Buick Total Value Promise. It's not a promotion, it's a promise.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Freedom, the one application hemorrhoidal cream.
Freedom, the only one application hemorrhoidal cream. Freedom, the only one application hemorrhoidal cream. Freedom, the only one application hemorrhoidal cream.
They were literally displaced by the storm. That would be missing children from Hurricane Katrina. Since the disaster, we've brought you some happy family reunions, also the heartbreak of parents still holding out hope. Our Brian Todd is over at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Alexandria, Virginia. He's joining us now with more. Brian?
Well, this is the room where they deal with that heartbreak firsthand. They've just had a shift change in the room here. More volunteers have just come in. They are actively on the hunt for missing children. We're going to put up a couple of more pictures now. Very important to pay attention to these pictures for our viewers because they are getting leads and calls virtually every time we are on the air and every time we put up a picture. Here are a couple more. Latara Thornton. She just turned 16 years old. This is an old picture you're seeing. Also with her, Kenneth Williams, 12 years old. Another fairly old picture, but it does give you some idea of the appearance. The relationship between these two children is not known. They are on the same page on the Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website because these two were last seen together. They were last known to be with the sister and mother of Latara Thornton in Gretna, Louisiana. The mother, Donna Thornton, is also missing. And again, the relationship that Kenneth Williams has to Latara Thornton is not known. These two, however, were believed to be in a shelter in Marksville, Louisiana. Again, that is a lead that they are chasing here. If people have any information on that lead, they want you to call into the Katrina Missing Persons Hotline. Here's another picture. Little guy, Ace Martinez, 9 months old, last known to be with his caretakers in Covington, Louisiana. This little guy's caretakers are also missing. The number to call if you have information on Ace Martinez, Latara Thornton, Kenneth Williams, anybody who you see with these people, 1-888-544-5475. Also go to www.missingkids.com for information on these cases. Very quickly about the numbers, we've had questions about why the numbers keep going up. They assure us they're being very conservative with these numbers. They are making very sure that they don't have duplicate cases. In many cases, they say there are people who have never had the opportunity to call in because they've been displaced and are now calling in. People are in a state of flux and are moving around all over the place, so they are getting new calls in every moment. So Wolf will keep you up to date on those calls as we get them.
Brian Todd reporting for us. Thank you, Brian, very much. We'll show our viewers some live pictures that we're getting in from New Orleans right now. You can see parts of this city continuing to dry up, other parts still very much underwater. Still a massive, massive program underway to deal with the enormous flood areas of New Orleans. These pictures we just got in, this is new video, check this out. Not only the cars destroyed, but all these personal possessions simply strewn about, literally thrown out of these homes. They're cleaning up, they're trying to do the best they can in this area. Very, very dangerous situation still, but the mayor was upbeat today. He's holding out hope that in the coming days, they'll be able to get back into the city. These are live pictures, by the way. And look at this, more of the destruction in factories and warehouses, in homes, all sorts of structures. Still, the situation in New Orleans continues, the disaster very, very visible. Coming up, passing notes over at the United Nations. What did President Bush write to one of his aides? We'll lighten things up a little bit. CNN's Jeannie Mose will take notes when we come back.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? Want peace of mind? Lock in a new low fixed rate loan from ditech.com while rates are still near their 2-year lows. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Smart Balance Buttery Spread cooks, spreads, and tastes like real butter without the cholesterol and high saturated fat. And Smart Balance just received another Best Taste Award. So for real butter taste and the right balance, enjoy Smart Balance.
In Katrina's aftermath, more Americans say CNN is where they got the story. More than any other network, when it matters most, Americans trust CNN.
Why did your last diet fail?
If you're over 30, overstressed, and overweight, take a look in the mirror. You've got excess body fat around your waist, hips, and belly, right? Well, diet failure is not your fault. The problem is cortisol, a nasty little stress hormone that traps excess fat around the middle. But now there's Relacor. Relacor helps control cortisol and helps us lose stubborn belly fat fast. If you're dieting and still plagued by unsightly belly bulge, even if you're low-carb dieting, there's only one Relacor. Relacor helps you get thinner, look younger, and have energy to burn. Remember, when you're over 30, overstressed, and want to get rid of stubborn belly fat, the answer is Relacor.
Call in the next 15 minutes and find out how you can receive a 1-month supply of Relacor absolutely free. Call 1-800-910-1401. That's 1-800-910-1401.
Order Relacor now. It's easy. You'll love it.
I can't seem to find the book Into the Mist.
What if everyone had the same level of service as Northwest Community Credit Union?
Sorry, we're all out, but we do have the author.
It was a cold, dark night.
1 tall extra hot no foam latte.
The service you wouldn't expect from anyone is now available to everyone at Northwest Community Credit Union, where you're more than welcome.
Put some power into your summer with a Banks Power System from Valley RV Center. The Northwest's #1 Banks dealer is making it easy. Whether you own a truck or a motorhome, a Banks Power System will deliver incredible torque and horsepower to your engine. Gas or diesel, you'll blow away the competition. Steep grades, towing, passing, freeway on-ramps, no problem, with power to spare. And you'll see a dramatic increase in your fuel mileage. But the best part? Now through September 30th, Valley RV is offering 50% off installation, a savings of up to $1,000. Hurry in today. Valley RV Center, where the journey begins.
Former President Bill Clinton, hurricane relief and his global initiative. Larry King, CNN tomorrow.
Got some live pictures coming in. Check this out. These are mobile homes in New Orleans, and not only that, but look at how many of them there are there that people are going to be living in temporary housing for individuals in the New Orleans area, home after home after home. This is a huge huge undertaking. The president's going to be speaking extensively about it later tonight, and we're going to be getting some excerpts from the president's remarks. Suzanne Malveaux is standing by with that. First, though, let's bring in CNN's Jack Cafferty. He's in New York. He's been going through all of your email. Jack?
When does Zane Virgie come back from vacation?
I think she'll be back Monday.
She will?
Yeah.
You suppose she's aware of what a tremendous job Frederica Whitfield's been doing while she has been away?
You'll remind her when she comes back.
Former President Bill Clinton Wolf's hosting the first gathering of something called the Clinton Global Initiative, starting today here in New York. It's a 3-day deal, summit that includes CEOs and heads of state trying to tackle some of the world's big problems: poverty, global warming, religious and ethnic conflict. The question is, what's President Bill Clinton up to, do you think? And as expected, we got a ton of mail on this. Laney in Coconut Creek, Florida writes, providing a springboard for Hillary to jump off. Whether you like them or dislike them, you cannot ignore leadership, decisive thinking, and an effective track record for this team. Gary writes, I just returned from living in Vietnam for 3 years. Although there is vile hatred for President Bush throughout Asia, largely because of the ill-conceived war in Iraq, Clinton's name elicits tears of love and reverence. He's truly the best thing America has going for it internationally. Ross in Paradise, California. Bill Clinton's just being Bill, doing what he does best, smiling and picking your pocket at the same time. Ulterior motive, laying the groundwork for the next election so Hillary can get them back in the White House. Rumor is they're running out of silverware and dishes. Jennifer writes, what's Clinton up to? Trying to build a legacy that he didn't do while in office for 8 years. And Joe in Jersey City, New Jersey, leave President Clinton alone. He's just a great big lovable bubba who wants to be loved in return. Besides, when he speaks, I'm reminded of a time when a president of the United States opened his mouth and actually said something. And that's all we have here, Wolf, in New York City.
All right, Jack, I'll see you not tomorrow, but I'll see you Monday, right?
See you on you and I and Zane will have a reunion.
All right, we'll see you Monday, okay. Jack Cafferty. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you very much. Let's immediately go to our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. She's getting excerpts of what the president plans on saying tonight. Suzanne's in New Orleans. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, we just received 4 or 5 excerpts from the president's speech that he'll be delivering. I'm going to give you just a couple here. One of the highlights, this one going to the issue of national security as well as the government's accountability, something that the White House over the last couple of days has been stressing. This one saying that the president will say the government of this nation will do its part as well. Our cities must have clear and up-to-date plans for responding to natural disasters, disease outbreaks, or terrorist attack, for evacuating large numbers of people in an emergency, and for providing the food, water, and security they would need. In a time of terror threats and weapons of mass destruction, the danger to our citizens reaches much wider than a fault line or a flood plain. I consider detailed emergency planning to be a national security priority. On to the next excerpt. He also says, but I also want to know all the facts about the government response to Hurricane Katrina. The storm involved a massive flood, a major supply and security operation, and an evacuation order affecting more than 1 million people. It was not a normal hurricane, and the normal disaster relief system was not equal to it. Very important, Wolf. These 2 of at least 4 or 5 excerpts that we're getting here. The focus of the administration, it has been a change in strategy from the White House, that is to take accountability, to take responsibility, as we heard the president say 2 days ago in the East Room, but also to call for an investigation. As you know, Wolf, of course, that is a point of contention, what kind of investigation and who he would hold responsible. Wolf?
Suzanne Malveaux reporting for us from New Orleans. Suzanne, thank you very much. Up next, the president passes a note. Was it top secret? Well, it's sort of a secret, but it's a secret no more. We'll tell you what it said when we come back.
One of Birmingham, Alabama's darkest days took place this week in history. On September 15, 1963, 4 innocent African-American girls were killed in the bombing of a Baptist church. In 1999, a gunman opened fire in a Baptist church in Fort Worth, Texas. He killed 7 people before taking his own life. And the Archdiocese of Boston settled with alleged abuse victims for $10 million in 2002. That is This Week in History.
This Week in History is brought to you by HP. HP Services and Technology help companies face, manage, and love change.
The HP Blade System server powered by Intel Xeon processors. Consolidation made easy.
It's not wood and concrete that build a country. It's dreams and hard work. It's neighbors who give their word along with their hand.
When people around here dream of buying a home,
or refinancing, they call me. I'm an AmeriQuest mortgage specialist.
And I'm here to help you with your dream.
I'll get you the home loan that helps pay off high-interest credit cards and lowers your monthly payments.
I'll even do the paperwork.
Call 1-800-AmeriQuest or visit AmeriQuest.com. AmeriQuest Mortgage, proud sponsor of the American Dream.
Oh, it's not a birthday cake, that's a fire hazard.
Well, it's tough hitting the half-century mark.
Oh, I'll tell you a good thing, though.
Oh, no, please don't.
No. The good thing is reaching a point where the kids are all set, and the plans are made, and suddenly, finally, not having to spend every waking moment worrying so much about money.
Right, here.
You're the financial guy. Let's hear from the birthday boy. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
When you work with a Morgan Stanley financial advisor, you get someone unusually devoted to your dreams, one client at a time.
Have a good day. See you tonight.
Okay.
Introducing the all-new Suzuki Grand Vitara. You want more out of life? We're giving you the green light. Go.
A lesson for parents about the power of your cable remote. Yes, you can surf the channels with it. But did you know? The cable remote can help control what your children watch. It's pretty easy. First hit Menu or Settings, then scroll through the on-screen options to set your password. Finally, block the programming by channel or rating, and talk to your children about why certain programs are not for them. Set your parental controls. It's easy. For more details on parental controls and tools, go to controlyourtv.org.
A lot of serious business for the president this week, from hurricane recovery along the battered Gulf Coast to global flashpoints over at the United Nations. But amid it all, something that may give all of us a little bit of a chuckle. Here's CNN's Jeannie Mose.
There's lots of paper passing at the UN, but when the President of the United States passes a note while seated at the Security Council table, well, a Reuters photographer with a long lens couldn't pass it up. Not since John Kerry scribbled such copious notes during the first presidential debate has a note been so noted.
So the Iraqi people can choose their own destiny.
Noted and lampooned.
What was he writing?
But what was the president writing to his Secretary of State? Was it about UN reform? Was it about the latest UN terrorism resolution?
Each of us must act to share information to
But the president didn't mean to share this information. I think I may need a bathroom break. Is this possible? Next thing you know, between speakers, the president gets up and Condoleezza Rice temporarily takes his place. Still, getting nabbed passing a bathroom note isn't as bad as getting busted for doing a crossword puzzle at Judge Roberts' confirmation hearings, as Oklahoma Republican Senator Tom Coburn did. The Bush note has been whizzing around the internet. It sort of reminds us of Saddam Hussein's first interrogation after he was pulled out of that spider hole. When offered a glass of water by his interrogator, Saddam replied, "If I drink water, I will have to go to the bathroom, and how can I use the bathroom when my people are in bondage?" But refraining from drinking isn't easy to do when you're in bondage at the UN. But anyone who single-handedly anchors a 3-hour live television show must already know what it feels like to want to take a bathroom break. Right, Wolf?
She's right. She's right. Jeannie Mose reporting for us, some serious reporting. By the way, we're getting some more excerpts from the president's remarks tonight. Here's one quote from what the president will say. According to the White House, the work that has begun in the Gulf Coast region will be one of the largest reconstruction efforts the world has ever seen. When that job is done, he says all Americans will have something to be very proud of, and all Americans are needed in this common effort. The President of the United States will be speaking tonight from New Orleans, 9 p.m. Eastern. CNN will have live coverage. We'll be back here in the Situation Room for that, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. I'll be back also tomorrow, as usual, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks very much for joining us. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Lou Dobbs tonight, getting ready to start right now. Lou standing by in New York. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf, and good evening, everybody. Tonight, the mayor of New Orleans, Ray Nagin, is telling nearly 200,000 residents they can return home for the first time after Hurricane Katrina. It is a remarkable reversal for the mayor who just a few days ago was saying it was unsafe for anyone to remain in his city. The mayor's declaration comes just hours before President Bush will address the nation from New Orleans on his vision for the city's reconstruction. President Bush delivers his speech 3 hours from now, 9 p.m. Eastern. Suzanne Malveaux is in New Orleans. She has a preview of the president's speech. And Mary Snow, also in New Orleans tonight, reporting on the city's ambitious plans to reopen for business. We begin with Suzanne Malveaux. Suzanne.
Well, Lou, it's really expected to be a defining moment for this president to lay out his vision to the country about the recovery effort. The main theme here, of course, is moving forward, not to look behind. We got some excerpts just moments ago. I'm going to read two of them for you. The first one, he says, the work that has begun in the Gulf Coast region will be one of the largest reconstruction efforts the world has ever seen. When that job is done, all Americans will have something to be very proud of, and all Americans are needed in this common effort. Another excerpt here, a very interesting one that takes some responsibility and accountability. The president saying the government of this nation will do its part as well. Our cities must have clear and up-to-date plans for responding to natural disasters, disease outbreaks, or terrorist attack, for evacuating large numbers of people in an emergency, and for providing the food, water, and security they would need. In a time of terror threats and weapons of mass destruction, the danger to our citizens reaches much wider than a fault line or a floodplain. I consider detailed emergency planning to be a national security priority. Lou, the president addressing some concerns that polls have shown Americans not as confident in his leadership ability, not as confident in his ability to deal with terrorist attacks. The president tackling that this evening. Lou?
Suzanne, thank you very much. Suzanne Malveaux from New Orleans. The mayor of that city, Ray Nagin, today declared his city is reopening for business. He also is allowing nearly 200,000 residents to return over the next few weeks. That's more than a third of the city's population. Mary Snow reports from New Orleans. Mary?
Lou, as you said, it's an ambitious plan. Mayor Ray Nagin saying today this is a good day for New Orleans, and this is the first step in bringing the city back to life. Starting next week, nearly 200,000 residents will be phased in over a period of weeks, being allowed to return to their homes. This in areas that were not badly damaged, not as badly damaged, that is, and after the hurricane. Now, over the weekend, business leaders and business owners will be allowed to go back to their businesses, and then residents on Monday. Electricity is continuing to be restored, but the mayor is saying that people will not be able to use the water for drinking. Also, the French Quarter, which he says is high and dry, that timeline for the French Quarter to be reopened is September 26th. He's saying that there are concerns about putting electricity back at the same time because he's concerned about potential fires. So that is why it is not reopening right away. This is in stark contrast, Lou, to an earlier prediction that New Orleans could have been a ghost town for several months. Lou?
Mary, thank you very much. Mary Snow. The federal government is now saying officially Hurricane Katrina is the most destructive hurricane ever to strike this country. NOAA says Katrina is also likely to top the list of most costly hurricanes ever, replacing Hurricane Andrew in Florida in 1992. But the most deadly hurricane remains the storm that struck Galveston, Texas in 1900, killing more than 8,000 people. A huge issue for homeowners in the Katrina disaster zone is whether insurance companies will pay for reconstruction. Today, the Mississippi State Attorney General filed suit against 5 insurance companies. At issue is whether those insurance companies are failing to fulfill their obligations to victims of flooding. Alan Chernoff reports from Biloxi, Mississippi.
Marion Williams' insurance adjuster looked at his home's damage and said, it's the result of a flood, not a hurricane.
It was driven by the wind. The hurricane is wind, strong winds that blow, but it pushed the water in here.
Williams has no flood insurance. Neither does his neighbor, 82-year-old Bill Vierling. Still waiting for his insurance adjuster, Vierling fears he'll also hear the damage came from a flood.
Baloney. All the way through here, from the beach all the way through diagonally across here,
there's evidence right on down the line of some low pressure sucking things up. Flood didn't do that.
In a lawsuit filed Thursday, Mississippi's Attorney General charges insurance companies with illegally trying to get out of paying compensation to Katrina's victims.
If we don't get this stopped, what insurance companies are trying to do, it's going to bankrupt the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, Louisiana, and parts of Alabama as well.
The insurance companies in their standard policies exclude damage resulting from water, even if that water is driven by wind. The companies say homeowners need to buy separate flood insurance offered by FEMA. But relatively few people in this area bought such insurance because this is not a designated flood zone. Named in the lawsuit are State Farm, Nationwide, Allstate, and other insurers. Allstate said it's unfortunate that a lawsuit has been filed so early in the recovery process. None of the other companies responded to CNN's request for comment. But the industry's trade group says the policies are clear.
The insurance industry did not charge premium for flooding, and flooding is not covered under standard homeowners policies.
The Red Cross estimate Katrina damaged more than 1/3 of the homes along Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Residents like Bill Vierling hope the state's lawsuit will get insurance companies to soften their stance. He says his only other hope is a bailout from the federal government. Alan Chernoff, CNN, Biloxi, Mississippi.
New concerns tonight that federal employees with government credit cards may spend taxpayer dollars on themselves rather than on the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Congress has raised the credit line on those cards from $2,500 to $250,000. But many fear that government employees may well spend federal money on such things as prostitutes, gambling, and alcohol. They fear that because it's happened before. Now, Senate Finance Committee Chairman Senator Charles Grassley wants to cut the credit line for most of those cards to $50,000. Hurricane Ophelia, the first major storm to hit this country after Katrina, today continued to pound the Carolina coast with high winds and heavy rain. The slow-moving storm is expected to remain off the Outer Banks for another 12 to 24 hours before it heads back out into the Atlantic. Susan Candiotti reports from Nags Head in the Outer Banks. Rob Marciano reports from Salter Path on the North Carolina coast. We begin with Susan Candiotti. Susan?
Good evening, Lou. It's time for high tide here in this area of the Outer Banks. And residents here say they are relieved that the worst they had to bear of Hurricane Ophelia were only tropical storm force winds. No injuries reported here. Thankfully, no deaths either. This particular part of the Outer Banks was not under an evacuation order, and most people here chose to ride out the storm. They had a much rougher time of it down south of here on Hatteras Island. However, authorities say they're not ready to say they dodged the bullet yet. They did have power outages down there. They do have reports of sand washing over onto the roadways. But for now, the roads are said to be passable, and they'll be doing damage assessments come the morning. Now, earlier this day, we spoke with some residents who talked about the so-called Katrina effect and what kind of emotional impact that storm had on preparing for Ophelia.
From everything I saw yesterday with the Sprint trucks and the massive amount of Dominion Power trucks that have already come here, National Guard trucks, I feel like they're over preparing just to make sure that they don't get caught.
And in fact, even though they had power outages down on Hatteras Island, they say that already a lot of those people are already back online. FEMA, the National Guard, and State Highway Patrol, they had over 1,000 people pre-positioned, ready to help out as necessary. And quite frankly, I've not seen anything quite like it, even in terms, Lou, of the press releases that they put out in advance of Hurricane Ophelia, obviously with Katrina in mind. Back to you.
At least lessons are being learned from the tragedy of Katrina. Susan Candiotti, thank you. Hurricane Ophelia has flooded some beachfront communities and damaged a number of buildings. Rob Marciano reports now from Salter Path, North Carolina. Rob?
Wolf, this storm completely different from Katrina, but some of the results, at least where I stand right now, very, very similar. A storm surge on the bay side of this island last night created a path of destruction that I didn't think you'd see in a Category 1 storm. These are beachfront retail operations, fishing houses, restaurants, other retail, docks, cinder blocks completely pulverized and pushed in, and then beyond these buildings is where the debris comes to rest. This is something that you would see almost similar to Biloxi, except on a bit of a smaller scale. Look at all this concrete, reinforced concrete, just completely crushed by the waves of the bay. This is Bogue Sound. Right now, the tide is coming in. Right now, we've got your typical six-inch breakers, but last night we had 5 and 6 foot breakers coming in on top of a storm surge nobody around here has ever seen. A couple of inlets on either side of this island caused the water to be squeezed in here from the ocean side, and then the north wind kicked in last night and took all that water as it pinched up and surged forward and pushed it into these businesses. And you can see it goes all the way down the northern side of this island, Lou. Destruction we didn't think we'd see from a Category 1 hurricane. Talked to some of the longtime residents here who lived through 1954 hurricane. I'd lose it right now, but can't remember the name. Starts with an A. But it was a Category 4 storm, and they said this is much worse than that storm from back in 1954. Unbelievable damage from a Category 1 storm, Lou. Back to you.
Well, Rob, the hours that you put in with that storm over the past 24 hours, I'm glad you can remember my name. Thank you very much, Rob Marciano.
All right, bro.
Still ahead, the Army Corps of Engineers admits failures in its preparations for Hurricane Katrina and considers bold plans to protect New Orleans from any future disaster. We'll have a special report for you. And how federal, state, and local government ignored the lessons of the past in their response to Hurricane Katrina. My guest tonight, an author who says this country was better at dealing with disasters a century ago. And the Senate completes its questioning of Supreme Court Chief Justice nominee John Roberts. We'll be examining whether Judge Roberts has convinced senators that he should be the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. All of that and a great deal more coming right up.
Lou Dobbs Tonight is brought to you by the Sharp Digital Imager Series. All the productivity you want, all the document security you need.
Sharp multifunction products transform the office by adding enhanced color to your documents. Then Sharp technology doubled your productivity by scanning two-sided documents in a single pass. Now Sharp's Data Security Kit is transforming the office again by preventing unauthorized access to information while keeping sensitive digital documents from falling into the wrong hands. The Sharp Digital Imager Series. All the productivity you want, all the document security you need.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? Well, if you have a $200,000 mortgage at 6% APR, a 1% increase in the APR will actually increase your monthly payments by 11%. That equals an extra monthly payment every year. Want peace of mind? Lock in a new low fixed-rate loan from Ditech.com while rates are still near their 2-year lows. Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
I said, let's get started right. Let's not three-putt this thing to start off the golf tournament. And I hit the putt, wham, right in the hole. And what a boost, what a confidence builder. And, then the tournament was mine.
In golf, confidence and the ability to make the shot when you need it is the mark of a champion. Like Jack Nicklaus, the Royal Bank of Scotland Group know it's never good enough just to talk a good game. You have to play a good game. Make it happen.
Get more out of now with Dell. This Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor is only $499. Plus, get a free flat panel upgrade. Notebooks start at $549 after mail-in rebate. And get $250 off Dell Entertainment Systems, like Dimension 5100 desktops with Intel Pentium 4 processors and Inspiron 6000 notebooks with Intel Pentium M processors. Dell PCs use Intel Pentium 4 processors.
The massive flooding in New Orleans has sparked an intense debate about how to protect the city from future hurricanes. Today, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers presented its own ideas about new flood defenses. And at the same time, the Corps admitted that it could have done more to protect the city before the hurricane hit. Jimmy McIntyre reports.
From the Army Corps of Engineers, a prediction and an admission. The prediction: within 5 days, major portions of New Orleans will have been drained. And in less than 3 weeks, by early October, the city will be essentially dry, barring another storm. The admission: preparations to conduct emergency repairs to the broken levees under flood conditions were inadequate.
Could you or should you have had, in retrospect, perhaps more helicopters, more sandbags already, the giant 3,000-pound sandbags ready to go, so that you could have moved maybe a few days earlier than you were able to?
Could we or should we? In retrospect, I would say in retrospect, I would say yes. We could have, we should have, in anticipation of this. It should have been part of the overall response plan.
In fact, the Army Corps did pre-position materials and people to move in after the flood, but it took days to get the helicopters and construction materials to begin plugging the leaks. A better plan, officials say, would not have prevented the flood, but could have speeded recovery and perhaps limited the damage. But even as it rebuilds the levees and considers how to make them higher and stronger, at a projected cost of over $2 billion, the Army Corps is revisiting an old idea, blocking any storm surge from getting into Lake Pontchartrain, thereby stopping the flooding at its source.
Right down here, there are two passes that come into Lake Pontchartrain. Lake Pontchartrain is actually connected and is essentially at sea level. Our original proposal was to put barriers there which could be raised as hurricanes approach, much like you see in the Netherlands and on the Thames River in England. For environmental concerns, the health of the estuary, we were enjoined not to do that.
A system of barriers has held back the sea in Holland since their own Katrina, a 1953 storm that killed 1,800 people. The Army Corps of Engineers, which is made up almost entirely of civilians, won't decide whether movable barriers or bigger levees are the way to go. Instead, they will assess the cost, the technical feasibility, and the environmental impact of the options. And then, Lou, it'll be up to the state and federal government to weigh the trade-offs.
General Strzok, as you know, Jamie, has been candid throughout. He and his people have done heroic work in moving in quickly and consistently into the damaged area. The idea of that 1965 proposal, does it have, in political terms at least, a chance of occurring?
Well, I think what you're going to see is they're going to look at that as well as the option of building up the levees. But if you could prevent the storm surge from getting into Lake Pontchartrain, that would really cut off the problem right at the source. And that might be a much more effective way, but they're going to have to go back again and look at the environmental concerns that prompted the lawsuit that stopped it in the first place. Again, that might be the way to go. They're going to have to look at it.
It is difficult indeed to imagine any greater damage to the environment that would have resulted from the 1965 plan being carried out than what we have just witnessed with Katrina. Jamie, thank you very much. Jamie McIntyre. In Mississippi, 2 dolphins from the Gulfport Aquarium who were swept out to sea during Hurricane Katrina have been rescued. The dolphins were found swimming in the polluted Gulf of Mexico. 6 other dolphins from the aquarium remain missing. And in New Orleans today, there were new rescues of abandoned dogs and cats. The National Guard is now involved in a desperate effort to save as many animals as possible still alive in the city. Many of the animals still being rescued after more than 2 weeks with virtually no fresh water. And more than 900 pets have been rescued in New Orleans since the hurricane hit. Coming up here next, we'll have the very latest status alert on the Gulf Coast crisis, and then President Bush faces some of the lowest approval ratings of his presidency ahead of tonight's primetime speech. The White House has a clear political strategy for the speech. Our senior political analyst will have that report. And then a former president, the current president, and a man trying to become president, all doing their best to appease the fastest growing military, economic, and political power on earth. We'll have a special report for you. Red Storm rising. Next. Stay with us.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
Sprint Business is reinventing the yes man, turning the yes man into someone who can work from almost anywhere. And now that Sprint and Nextel have come together, you can work in and out of the office more efficiently, the way 96% of the Fortune 1000 already do.
So saying yes from just about anywhere with speed and confidence makes me a yes man. I'm a yes man.
With Sprint Business, you can make just about any place a workplace. Yes, you can.
The Oracle Grid, a group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
CNN Tomorrow. Former President Bill Clinton for the hour. His hurricane relief project with former President Bush and his new global initiative. Larry King, CNN Tomorrow, 90.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's Restaurants, where you'll enjoy great food and delicious pies all day, every day. And we offer free mobile service to your home or office. So for the highest quality windshields and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. And remember, when you think glass, think Empire.
Hello?
Hi.
What's up?
Everyone has a different voice. That's why there's Comcast Digital Voice home phone service with unlimited local and long-distance calling, 12 popular calling features, even the ability to check voicemail online. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. And Comcast customers get our best price, just $39.95. Hey, it's your voice.
Hi, Grandma.
Let it be heard. Switch to a better phone service risk-free. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
No one asked them to help. They just did. Heroes Among Us. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
Nearly 3 weeks after Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast, that region is still struggling, obviously, to recover. Officials now say the death toll from the storm has reached 700. Deborah Farrick joins me now and has the very latest status alert for us. Deborah?
Well, Lou, topping our status alert tonight, floodwaters. They're draining much faster than expected, and the Army Corps of Engineers says except for a few ponds in low-lying areas, New Orleans could be pumped out by October 18th. Radio stations have been calling people home zip code by zip code, yet it may not be completely safe. If another storm hits, engineers say there is no guarantee the levees will hold. Status alert on Louisiana wildlife. It's too early for any scientific studies, but the Fish and Wildlife Agency fears that the number of animals like white-tailed deer and other ground species may have been seriously impacted. Final status alert on oystermen. If there is no contamination in the Gulf and if oystermen can reseed, it will take a minimum 18 months for the oysters to come back. Shrimpers, crawfishermen, and turtle farmers have no idea when they'll be able to get their boats back into the water. That tops our status alerts. Email us here at statusalert@cnn.com with any information you may have on the impacted region. Luke.
Deborah, thank you very much. Updating you now on a story that we reported earlier in this broadcast. We reported on the Mississippi State Attorney General's decision to file a lawsuit against 5 insurance companies amid claims of profiteering and denying coverage to thousands of Mississippians. A short time ago, one of those insurance companies, State Farm, contacted us and said the Attorney General's actions, in their words, threaten to undermine the insurance industry's stability and its ability to respond to claim obligations. And Nationwide just said the allegations made by the Mississippi State Attorney General are unfounded. We'll continue to follow this important story. President Bush, faced with the lowest approval ratings of his presidency, has a new opportunity tonight to persuade the American people of his ability to lead in crisis. President Bush's speech in New Orleans tonight is an opportunity to turn a page in the Gulf Coast disaster and to take the initiative in reconstruction. Bill Schneider has our report.
President Bush is trying to turn the page. It's a 3-step strategy for political recovery. Step 1, get rid of the FEMA director. In 1 week, this Michael Brown,
and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job,
became ex-FEMA director Michael Brown. Step 2, take responsibility. President Bush has never been inclined to admit mistakes. It doesn't match his image of strength. Last year, when a reporter asked the president about his mistakes, Bush seemed uncomfortable.
You know, I'm sure something will pop into my head here in the midst of this press conference.
Mr. President. 6 months later, after he had time to think about it, the president faced the same question in a campaign debate.
I made some mistakes in appointing people, but I'm not going to name them.
Now, the mistake is undeniable.
And to the extent that the federal government didn't fully do its job right, I take responsibility.
Not quite an apology, but enough to get to step 3, move on. The president's speech is expected to set out his vision for recovery and reconstruction, an ambitious and expensive new agenda, one that will showcase the president as fully in charge. President Bush has one thing going for him as he tries to regain the initiative. He has kept his base. Every leader needs a base. Your base are the people who are with you when you're wrong. This president's base is not abandoning him. 85% of Republicans stand behind President Bush. His allies defend him.
The government is aggressively working, aggressively responding.
President Bush has been there for his conservative base, and they're now there for him. Sooner or later, every leader gets in trouble. President Reagan had Iran-Contra. President Clinton had Monica Lewinsky. Like Bush, they had a base that helped them get through it. Lou?
The base point is certainly an important one, Bill. The subtext, as we've been reporting here from almost the outset, is in the crisis in the Gulf Coast, is that Americans right now are, after the performance of the federal government in responding to this disaster and local and state authorities responding to the disaster, are very concerned that we are simply unprepared in any significant way to respond to a terrorist attack or another natural disaster elsewhere in the country. Do you believe the president will address that specific concern, perhaps the most important concern, tonight?
I believe he better, because everything we've looked at, every poll number we've looked at shows that Americans are becoming more and more alarmed over what this signifies, what this whole Katrina experience means. Unpreparedness. The president has got to talk not just about reconstruction and recovery in the Gulf, but what specifically he's doing to make sure that every part of the country is prepared for anything like this disaster.
Bill Snyder, thank you.
Sure.
Congressional Republicans are using the massive hurricane relief effort to push their own political and legislative agendas. The Bush White House has already suspended a series of regulations that are critically important, saying such measures are now an obstacle to emergency relief work. Among the suspended regulations are rules that would ensure federal contractors pay a fair wage to their workers, the Davis-Bacon Act. And Democrats are also using this disaster to promote an agenda as well, including a plan to preserve Medicaid health benefits for victims. We'd like to know how you feel about the president's address to the nation tonight, coming up in just now about 2.5 hours. Do you believe President Bush will be able to assure the American public about the government's readiness to quickly and adequately respond to future disasters? Yes or no? Cast your vote, please, at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results coming up later in the broadcast. Coming right up, Chief Justice nominee John Roberts tries to convince Senate Democrats he'll follow the rule of law and not his personal views. We'll have a special report on the last day of his public Senate testimony. And then the response of a nation and a government to two natural disasters nearly a century apart. My next guest says there are striking differences. We'll take a look at what we have learned and what we've forgotten. Stay with us.
Do you, Morgan Ambrose Robert, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
Of course, that very much depends on what you mean by the question, do you? Forward-looking statements involve risk and uncertainties. We're opening up a can of worms here. No single answer readily presents itself. I mean, have we really explored every avenue? Have the parties made certain representations, warranties, and agreements in connection with the merger? Do the parties agree to be subject to the satisfaction of the regulatory approvals as required to consummate the transaction? Who amongst us will ever know?
I do.
I pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Less talk. Make it happen. The Royal Bank of Scotland Group.
The Oracle Grid, a group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
My guest tonight recently wrote an article in an op-ed in the New York Times. In it, he compared the federal government's slow response, in fact, local and state government's response to Hurricane Katrina, to the response of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, in which 3,000 people were killed. He says the response to those disasters are shockingly different. Joining me now is Simon Winchester. He's author of the book, A Crack in the Edge of the World, America and the Great California Earthquake of 1906. It is good to have you here, Simon. And amongst the things that we did in the early moments of this disaster, the thoughts went quickly to 1906 and San Francisco. What we did not expect to find were your discoveries about the relative differences in these two responses.
It was amazing. I mean, this is a time with no cell phones, no CNN, no weather channel to tell us anything was going to happen. The earthquake came out of a clear blue sky, 12 minutes past 5 in the morning. No one predicted it. And yet, within a matter of minutes, people realized what was happening and rose to the occasion. We had a general, Frederick Funston, who was knocked out of bed, suddenly realized he had to take charge. There was no possibility of calling Washington or anyone, so he said, we need soldiers.
And he was the second in command.
His number one was in Washington at his daughter's wedding. So he sent a man on horseback to ride down to the barracks. He said, I need soldiers in large numbers with bayonets, with ball ammunition, in field dress, marching into San Francisco to give everyone a show of confidence that the government's in charge. 2 hours and 33 minutes later, 153 minutes later, 2 companies of soldiers had weaved their way around the fires, presented themselves to the mayor of San Francisco, who was a completely unprepossessing chap. He was a violinist. He was highly corrupt. He was the president of the local musicians union. And yet he also rose to the occasion. He said, these soldiers can make sure there's no looting. Anyone that loots will be shot. Also, I need dynamite because the fires are breaking out. We need to blow up buildings to act as fire breaks. And I'm going to commandeer a boat to send a message from Oakland, where there is a working telegraph station, to Washington to say we need help.
In Washington, D.C. Now, again, the earthquake occurred on April 18, 1906. That telegram goes out from Oakland, from the mayor. Already, with the militia out, the Presidio has moved its troops out to take order, yes. and the mayor has put up posters saying looters will be shot. They're posted as many places as they can put them. That's on April 18th. The telegram goes out. And how does Washington respond?
Well, the first thing is Congress meets at 4 o'clock the next morning, passes all
Did you say in the morning?
In the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning.
I know. It's unimaginable, isn't it?
That's not really Washington time.
No, quite. They convene. They pass the necessary enabling legislation for all the financing. Taft, who's the Secretary of War, Teddy Roosevelt is in charge. I mean, a tough go-getter president. Everyone rises to the occasion. Taft authorizes relief trains to be sent pounding towards the Rocky Mountains within hours. Already the governor of California, a dentist, I think he was, called Governor Pardee, otherwise long forgotten, has sent a relief train which arrives in Berkeley at 11 o'clock that night.
And this is all the next day?
All the next day. Well, the first train arrived that same night.
Right.
So, but the big trains start going the next day, having been authorized by the equivalent then of the Pentagon. Within a week, every single tent that was owned by the American Army was in San Francisco as temporary housing.
What percentage of U.S. Armed Forces were moved into San Francisco?
10%. So 10% of the American Standing Army, which in those days was huge because it was all over the Philippines and Cuba and all these overseas places as well. Huge number of soldiers. So the federal government responded with astonishing alacrity, great efficiency.
Simon, we're out of time. It is a fascinating comparison. It's a fascinating study of the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco. What do you think is the basic, in one sentence, the difference between then and now in terms of response?
A lack of initiative today, too much bureaucracy today. Too many people looking over their shoulders, not taking decisions, not rising to the moment.
And Teddy Roosevelt, you said he was in charge. He stayed in charge.
He was an in-charge kind of man. He carried a big stick.
And he set a heck of an example.
He did.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Simon
you,
Winchester.
thank you.
We wish you a lot of luck. The book is A Crack in the Edge of the World.
Comes out in 2 weeks.
Timely, if ever there were such a thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
This just in here to CNN, we have just received word. Louisiana officials now say the death toll from the hurricane has risen to 558 in New Orleans. That's up from 474 as of yesterday. The total number of deaths now in the Gulf Coast as a result of the hurricane, 791. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are focusing not only on Hurricane Katrina now. The Senate Judiciary Committee, of course, today finished its public questioning of Chief Justice nominee Judge John Roberts. Roberts' confirmation to the High Court is now seen as a virtual certainty, despite some concerns from Senate Democrats who say they still don't know Roberts' views on the law. Joe Johns has the report.
Judge Roberts. With the last of the questions for Judge Roberts, Democrat Dianne Feinstein, the only woman on the Judiciary Committee, was still wavering, expressing uncertainty about how she might vote.
I don't really know what I'm going to do with respect to voting for you or voting against you.
Roberts did what a skilled advocate does best, closing with his strongest argument.
But I think if you've looked at what I've done since I took the judicial oath, that should convince you that I'm not an ideologue. And you and I agree that that's not the sort of person we want on the Supreme Court.
But Roberts still has his critics, like Senator Edward Kennedy, who pressed him on memos he wrote 2 decades ago about affirmative action and civil rights.
What do you think in your record would give some sense of hope to women, to minorities, blacks and browns, to those that are disabled, that are not looking for a handout, but just looking for a chance?
The long and short of it is that if you look at my record on the question of affirmative action, yes, I was in an administration that was opposed to quotas. Opposition to quotas is not the same thing as opposition to affirmative action.
Sensing potential vulnerability on that topic, Democrats invited civil rights leaders, including Georgia Congressman John Lewis, to voice concern about the nomination.
If the federal courts had abandoned us in the civil rights movement in the name of judicial restraint, we might still be struggling with the burden of legal segregation in America today. Judge Roberts' memos reveal him to be hostile towards civil rights, affirmative action, and the Voting Rights Act.
Republicans, already confident that Roberts will be confirmed, used the completion of his testimony to immediately make the case for overwhelming bipartisan support.
I think the way Judge Roberts has performed and what he's indicated and his willingness to follow the law, he should get a large majority vote in the United States Senate.
And there is pressure on the other side. Late today, the leaders of a number of progressive and liberal groups met with Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid to try to urge, in the strongest possible terms, a strong no vote against this nominee to send a message to the White House about the next Supreme Court nomination. We're told Reid listened, but said he had not made up his mind. Lou, back to you.
Senator Reid understands that messages often are reciprocal. It'll be interesting to see ultimately what the message is from the Democrats on that committee. Thank you very much, Joe Johns. Our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, has followed these proceedings throughout and is here tonight. And Jeffrey, good to see you.
It's a great week. It was really interesting.
Interesting, and one expects it to be, frankly, boring and predictably, if not ideological, partisan. And there was much of that. But Judge Roberts receives from Senator Biden the acclamation he's the best he's ever seen.
He was really dazzling. I mean, you know, I think I have a pretty good detector about when someone really knows their stuff and when they don't. And the scope of his knowledge of constitutional law was really unusual, even by the very high standards of Supreme Court advocates. So his knowledge, his intelligence, his ethics are not in question. What he believes and how he'll vote, that's somewhat more mysterious.
We've got a sense of how he believes. He has no aversion to being called a conservative. At the same time, he says he's not an ideologue. Are those inconsistent and contradictory positions?
By no means. I mean, you know, I think what there was a great exchange today, and Joe's piece ran the excerpt about, you know, when he denied being an ideologue, where Senator Schumer, you know, sort of said, you know, we know you're a conservative, but are you...
Speaking of ideologues.
Right, but I mean, are you a Scalia-Thomas ideologue, or are you a sort of mainstream conservative.
A Rehnquist.
And a Rehnquist. And, that was a really heartfelt statement there by Judge Roberts where he said, look at my record. And it is true. He's not someone who gives a lot of speeches. He doesn't write law review articles. He's not on a soapbox when he's been judging so far. So he doesn't seem like an ideal.
All right, he has Jeffrey Toobin's vote. Now, give us...
that and 51 more, I'll get him into the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Your sense of the losers and the winners here. Obviously, a man of this character, capacity, and integrity, obviously, will do well. The fears about Roe v. Wade, the fears about being an activist or too interpretive, if you will, of the Constitution, entirely misplaced?
I don't think they're entirely misplaced. I think it's unclear whether he is the kind of judge who really will bring an agenda to roll back the precedents he doesn't like, or he will be someone who says, look, the precedents are what they are. Let's work within the law and see how the law develops from here. That was the question that the Democrats focused on the whole time, and their frustration is understandable because at least I don't have a clear sense if that's where he is.
Frustration. One would seem to think that there would be great joy that a man of talent or a woman of talent and capacity was moving forward to a position of this importance.
I think that may have been a little bit of a facetious question. I couldn't possibly.
Jeffrey Toobin, thank you, sir. Good to have you here. Still ahead, a second straight day of carnage in Baghdad. Insurgents today target Iraqi police officers again. Will Iraq's security forces collapse if U.S. troops do withdraw? General David Grange is here next. Stay with us.
Imagine how much energy it takes to fuel an entire city of 1 million households, day and night, for 6 years. That's how much energy Kerr-McGee will recover from just one deep water field with just one production spar that produces offshore oil and gas where we couldn't before. Nobody delivers America's energy to Americans like the deep water explorers of Kerr-McGee.
The first words on the moon were spoken into a Plantronics headset.
See you coming down the ladder now.
But the question remains, what if our headset wasn't there?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap. Are you there?
Now Plantronics makes wireless headsets for everyone. Plantronics. Sound innovation.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
When so many little things go wrong, it's good to know some of the big things won't. The nice thing about the HP Pavilion desktop with the Intel Pentium 4 processor isn't just its price. It's the peace of mind you get for the price. Like a warranty that's longer than most. Support with industry-leading response time. And tech help that actually helps. Get a computer and a company you can count on. Call by September 17th to get the HP Pavilion desktop with the Intel Pentium 4 processor, just $399. Order now and get a free CD burner upgrade. Or ask about other HP desktops with Intel processors starting at $249 after rebate. Too bad everything isn't backed with this much support. HP Pavilion desktops. Brilliantly simple.
A new wave of insurgent attacks again in Iraq today, one day after the worst violence in Baghdad in 2.5 years. Insurgents today targeted elite police commandos, forces that are working closely with U.S. troops in offensive operations. 30 people were killed today in those attacks, 57 others wounded. These latest attacks simply add to fears that Iraq is on the brink of civil war. Joining me now, General David Grange. General, these attacks rising to this level, Does it surprise you, shock you?
It does not, Lou, because right now it's a situation where the insurgent forces, the terrorist forces, have to try to start a civil war and break up the different factions more so than they are now. It's a really last hope through the elections and also the constitution process. It's predictable.
Amongst the reports that we're getting out of Baghdad is that Iraqis are becoming increasingly tired of this violence and are starting to provide intelligence on the terrorists and the insurgents. If that is true, what took so long in your judgment?
Well, first of all, the people had to develop a confidence in the government in place and also the new Iraqi military and police forces. That trust and confidence, that flow of communications only comes from that, and that had to be established.
The idea that there is an establishment of a government, the president of Iraq, Talabani, saying that as many as 50,000 U.S. troops could conceivably be coming home by the end of this year. Do you agree?
I don't think the end of this year, and I think that would not be prudent because I think you need to have as much force as possible on the ground through the Constitution development and the elections, and then start to draw down after. This is a critical window for the success of Iraq and for our efforts as well.
We have examined this issue time and time again over the past 2.5 years, David. The number of troops in Iraq, it appears that they're actually rising now rather than receding. What do you expect in terms of the force size and force security in the months and the year ahead?
Again, maybe a little bit more of an increase through the end of the year, but then a gradual drawdown, depending again on the training capabilities of the Iraqi forces, both police and the military.
General David Grange, thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Still ahead, Cubans fleeing communism and the U.S. Coast Guard. How Hurricane Katrina has given dozens, perhaps hundreds of Cubans an opening to Florida. And Mexico tonight facing its very own broken borders crisis. This time, Mexico is promising an urgent response to border issues as illegal aliens are crossing Mexico's southern border. Stay with us.
In Katrina's aftermath, more Americans say CNN is where they got the story. More than any other network, when it matters most, Americans trust CNN.
You can really see the difference at Willamette View, Portland's premier accredited senior retirement community. You'll love the lifestyle and views from its landscaped acreage on the Willamette River. A variety of activities, social, cultural, and wellness programs. The vitality of this senior community is unique and vibrant, like no other. Come see the difference for yourself. Come see why Willamette View got its name.
Over 300 used vehicles all in one place. It's Premier Auto Group's used car tent sale, September 16th through 18th at Clackamas Town Center. Cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, every make, model, color, and option you could want for 3 days only. Premier will have cars starting at $1,500. And low financing. Guaranteed financing, or we'll fill your gas tank for the trouble. We'll pay off your trade no matter how much you owe. All in one place, all for 3 days only. And brought to you by Premier Auto Group, September 16th through 18th at Clackamas Town Center.
It's been said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. That's exactly what many companies have done with their help wanted advertising. They've changed from seeing newspaper classified employment advertising as their only option to realizing that advertising their jobs online is as effective or better, takes less time, and saves them lots of money. Is your business ready to make a change? I'm David Batstone.
Find delight in the luxurious style of Ballard Designs. Superbly refined furniture and accessories that honor European tradition and a love for craftsmanship. Create an alluring home environment with Ballard Designs, where European style and tradition meet the comforts of modern living. Ballard Designs on HSN, bringing you exclusive design and opulent comfort.
Ask them to help. They just did. Heroes Among Us. CNN Saturday night, 7 Eastern.
Word tonight of a new invasion of Cubans into the United States. Dozens, if not hundreds, of illegal aliens from Cuba have landed on Florida soil over the past several weeks. Immigration officials say those Cubans are taking advantage of the U.S. Coast Guard's focus on recovery efforts now after Hurricane Katrina. Lisa Sylvester has the report.
Cubans who make it to U.S. soil can stay in the United States under what's known as the wet foot, dry foot policy. With Coast Guard resources shifted to the Gulf Coast to respond to Hurricane Katrina, many more Cubans have been making a dash for it. 109 Cubans reached Florida's shores in one 24-hour period this week.
The word is out in Cuba. Run, walk, crawl to the nearest smuggler, get onto a boat, come to the U.S. Hundreds of boats are lined up in Cuba as we speak, waiting to bring people to the United States. This is an impending crisis, and the federal government is sitting on its hands.
Since Hurricane Dennis slammed Cuba earlier this year, more Cubans have been trying to leave the island. More than 1,800 Cubans have successfully reached the United States this fiscal year, compared to 955 last year. Good weather and calm seas increased the number of attempts, but once Hurricane Katrina hit, it provided an opening. A Coast Guard spokesman said, quote, "Resources have been diverted, but we continue to have air surveillance and maritime surface units patrolling the Straits of Florida." The Coast Guard points out that while the number of landings has gone up, so has the number of successful interceptions at sea. But critics say if it's easier for Cubans to sneak in, it's also easier for terrorists.
It really, I think, raises questions about whether or not we can protect national security and respond to a crisis at the same time. And that's a little frightening.
Customs and Border Protection released a statement this afternoon saying operations are not being impacted because of their Hurricane Katrina relief efforts in the Gulf region. But rank and file border agents say the spike in the number of Cubans entering the United States shows that Katrina is having an effect. Lou?
Lisa Sylvester, thank you very much. The Mexican government, which insists on an open borders policy with the United States and basically condemns U.S. immigration and border policies, now concedes it has a broken border problem of its own. Mexico, however, this time is doing something about it, taking urgent steps, in fact, to stop the flow of Brazilian illegal aliens into Mexico, many of whom ultimately end up in the United States. Casey Wyan reports.
5 years ago, the Mexican government began allowing Brazilians to enter Mexico without a visa. The policy was supposed to encourage tourism, but instead it sparked a wave of illegal immigration from Brazil through Mexico to the United States. The number of Brazilians apprehended along the U.S. southern border has jumped from about 1,000 a year to more than 30,000 so far in fiscal 2005. Apprehensions of Brazilian illegal aliens have more than tripled in the past year alone. Now Mexico has decided to end its no visa policy for Brazilians.
Mexico certainly does not want to compound the problems of smuggling and violence that exist along its border with the United States. So from that perspective, it absolutely is in Mexico's own interest. But at the same time, this decision may reflect the growing cooperation between the United States and Mexico on immigration and border security related issues.
Just this week, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents helped break up an international illegal alien smuggling ring operating out of Brazil. 48 people, including Brazilian federal police and customs officers, airline personnel, and travel agents, are accused of helping thousands of Brazilians pose as tourists destined for Mexican border towns. Once there, they snuck into the United States.
Brazil offers us a particular problem, especially as we prosecute a war on terror. There's a part of Brazil in the southern portion in the tri-border region that we know is associated with Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations that may well be using that region of Brazil as a training area.
In a related decision, Homeland Security officials have expanded their expedited removal program to cover the entire southwest border. They say that means more non-Mexican illegal aliens apprehended near the border will now be kept in custody and quickly returned to their home countries. In the 6 Border Patrol sectors where expedited removal has not been in effect, the policy covering most so-called OTMs has been to give them a court date and then release them into the United States. Now, of course, an overwhelming majority of them never show up for their deportation hearings, and that practice may be coming to an end as long as the Department of Homeland Security makes good on its promise to acquire more detention space to keep those OTMs in custody before they're sent home. Lou?
Of course, those detention beds really have very little to do with securing the border. It will remain a SIVS until it is absolutely secured. Casey, thank you very much. A fascinating story. It's nice to see Mexico taking border security seriously, even if it is its southern border. Casey Wyand, thank you. The results of tonight's poll, 95% of you say President Bush will not be able to assure the American public about the government's readiness to quickly and adequately respond to future disasters. Still ahead here, 3 appeasers in a pod. A rising number of our political leaders simply failing to defend critically important U.S. strategic and economic interest against communist China's. We'll have a special report.
Right now at Joseph A. Bank, thousands of handcrafted suits and Business Express suit separates, just $199. The entire stock of signature dress pants, regularly $175, now $79. Plus, special savings throughout the store, like every wool silk corduroy jacket and all micro suede blazers, only $149. Only at Joseph A. Bank, now through Sunday.
For years, E-Trade was alone, standing outside, throwing stones at the financial establishment for the good of the investor. Now that we've matured, we're doing it from inside. E-Trade Financial combines banking, trading, and investing so you can make the most of your money. Be maximized. Visit etrade.com and be extraordinary.
What cooks like butter, spreads like butter, and has a fresh dairy taste like butter without the cholesterol and high saturated fat? Smart Balance Buttery Spread. Smart Balance just received another Best Taste Award and is endorsed by professional chefs. It's the only spread with a patented balance of fats to help increase HDL good cholesterol and avoids trans fat naturally, not artificially as some spreads do. Smart Balance. You're going to love that buttery taste.
We saw it coming. We were right there as it happened. We stayed to ask the tough questions. We're there now as communities rebuild, to tell the human stories, to demand the truth. It's what you expect. It's why we're here. CNN.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Jennifer Convertibles.
From Jennifer, another amazing living room value. Jennifer's 3-piece sofa modular, only $7.99, with exceptional quality and comfort. $7.99. Jennifer Convertibles.
Let's be clear. This nation's foreign policy with China appears to be written by multinational corporations eager for access to the illusion of the Chinese market. And many U.S. politicians bow and scrape before China with dollar signs in their eyes, ignoring years of unfair trade practices, hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. trade deficit with China, human rights violations by communist China, and crackdowns on the media. Critics say America's China policy is simply appeasement. Christine Romans reports.
Are these politicians putting trade with China ahead of democracy? President Bush smiling for the cameras and promising mutual cooperation with communist China. Former President Bill Clinton, he recently headlined a China internet conference and made no mention of jailed journalists or China's crippling press restrictions. Clinton quoted as saying Chinese limits on free speech were not hurting e-commerce. New York Governor George Pataki embarking on a trade mission where human rights, exploding trade deficits, and rampant Chinese piracy are not on the agenda.
This is what they say, that they are dealing with business and that they don't want to mix business and politics. But I'm sorry, with a country like China, business and politics are very, very close.
Critics say American politicians are complacent as China jails political opponents, manipulates its currency, and subsidizes low-wage factories that have put hundreds of thousands of Americans out of work, all while its military grows unabated. But one former ambassador to China says American policy is not appeasement, it's engagement.
We've got to keep a gentle pressure on them to move them forward politically and move them forward in the area of human rights. But all in all, we've got to realize that we have to be realistic, and we want to be careful and not make enemies of them unless we absolutely are forced to do so.
Pataki's office did not return a call for comment, but the trade group arranging his trip said, quote, "It is a trade mission. Governors don't make foreign policy." Clinton has said he was unaware of the much publicized jailing of a Chinese journalist, an arrest that press and human rights groups are angry he did not mention in his speech. And Bush, he'll meet Mr. Hu again, next time in China.
This week, Bush told reporters he will bring up human rights issues, and, well, many hope he'll make good on his word. And add to that unfair trade practices, piracy, military growth. China is a huge and growing challenge for American foreign policy. But so far, critics say it's been a lot of trade missions and photo ops, not real pressure on China.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Clinton and Bush and Pataki and
Many
the list
others
will go on. Ignoring the realities of what is a disastrous economic relationship for the United States, and no sign whatsoever that it will improve quickly. Of course, President Hu and President Bush shook hands and said they're going to get to work on that.
Mutual cooperation.
Absolutely. Christine, thank you. Finally tonight, Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter Judith Miller has been in prison now for 71 days for protecting her confidential sources in the White House CIA leak case. By the way, we still haven't seen that investigation conclude. Thanks for being with us tonight. For all of us here, good night from New York. Anderson Cooper 360 starts right now. Anderson.
Lou, good evening, everyone from New Orleans. The mayor here has a plan for people to return, but is the city really ready? And voices from the floods, the 911 calls you've never heard before. It's 4 p.m. on the West Coast, 7 on the East, and 6 p.m. here in New Orleans. 360 starts now.
A slow, hard-pounding Hurricane Ophelia strikes and strikes and strikes. The hurricane, the slow-moving hurricane, first to hit the U.S. since Katrina, dumping heavy rains and whipping up fierce winds and storm surges on North Carolina. We take you to Ophelia's stomping